Get 'em Jimmy, where low shack at? The bottles getting nippy up the crack and we stacking chips, all of it's what I want. Plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone. I prefer elevated pub sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced, leave the juice, letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call a truce. They getting slaughtered. Can't forget Jeff and low baggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon 'cause we be pubbing.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Friday, November 18th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. The Pub Sports Radio circa millions record improved, and it's starting to look good. We are now 28, 21, and 2 in the circa millions contest. And if we get hot, we can get in the running. The top 100 not too far away from us right now. We cashed with the Titans plus 3.5. That's exciting, man. So that shows every Thursday at 2 p.m. hosted by Jose and myself. And 28, 21, and 2, we vote on what sides we're going to put into our Circa Millions action. And I'm pretty pumped up. I cashed on the over easily. I know it only covered by 3 points, but covered halfway through the third. But should not have added the Packers. So gave a little back. It was a good night, though. Good enough. It could have been a great night. In NHL, we came so close to a great night. We went 4-4 plus 0.3 units, but Capitals lost in the shootout and the Hurricanes lost in overtime. Very close to glory. That Ducks first period at plus 145 was the highlight. Cashed 2.45 units on that game because I also cashed the under, believing that Gibson could turn this thing around. So we ended up last night 8 wins and 7 losses plus 1 unit. 4-4 down 0.3 units in NHL. 1-1 down 0.2 units in NFL. In NCAA, we went 2-1 plus 0.9 units. We're now 7-4 to start the year. Nebraska plus 9.5 was a loser, although they were up 27-20 at the half. But VCU covered by a hooker, and Charleston dominated. So we haven't had a losing day in college basketball. We've only won thus far. We've only made moves on 3 days of the season so far. Then in NBA, 1-1, down 0.1 units. And, any day in the black is a good day, but it could have been a really good day in the black. Shout out to all the cappers who are joining us. I'm really excited about today's show. We have Bobano joining us for the Grey Cup NHL. And there's only one game each there. Then we have our focus on college football and college basketball. And what a start well, it's not really a start because he only does Fridays with us, but what a great season Bobano's had on the show in college football. I believe he's 12-5. I'll have to go over. I have those records here actually. He's 12-5 at 70.1% plus 6.25 units, and I'm 31-15, 67.4%. And I don't have my unit count on that for some reason, but I had it yesterday. So sorry, Jose. I know I sent you the records, but you can just grab the unit count from yesterday. I don't know why it's not there. So then we have Dutch Boy Fresh joining us for NBA. This is his third appearance on the show, and he went 4-1 last Friday. And last year's performance by Dutch Boy Fresh was the finest performance I've had of any guest in the 5-year career I've had doing this publicly and bringing on guests. So that's the situation we're dealing with. Happy Friday to all of you. Ryan Mueller, Nilo, TJ. TJ says, let's go. I actually get to catch a whole show today. I'm stoked. Have NHL and NBA capped. I love it. Bo Jackson, ZZ Dina, Justin McElvey, Alex Hills, Occupancy, B-Lab69, Robert Franklin, Fantasy Freak, Slatsy said, losing 9 in NHL this season has been tough, but I'm still happier than Titans offensive coordinator Todd Downing arrested last night for DUI and speeding. Wow, I did not know that had happened. Nasty Nate, just one game in NHL, Nate, my man, just one game. Kent Davies in the house says Titans money line was so obvious. I don't know if it was so obvious. All the sharp money and big bets were on Green Bay until they moved it to 3.5. The books moved it to 3.5 to get Titans money, and they got a ton of it. So when the books moved it to 3.5, I don't think it was obvious. It wasn't obvious to me. Great job. I cashed the over, which is good enough for me. Okie in the house, Sky Dragon, Serious Business, B Fox, AOD, Coin. Nice to see you, Coin. All right, so that's the situation right now. Yes, Mike the under in the Islanders game was over as soon as it popped up. Just a review of NHL. Could have been glorious. Islanders Nashville under 6 was a loser. Ducks first period plus 145 a casher. Anaheim Winnipeg under 6.5 a casher. And Sky Dragon says there's a reason I can't make my Cappers contest picks. Let's find out. I've not heard from anyone else, but send an email. pubsportsradio@gmail.com, and Sean will fix it right away. Knights first period minus a half was a loser. Red Wings plus 105 was a casher. Should have taken that on the -1 line. Hurricanes -1 lost in overtime. Penguins, I had set up to bet them -1. And I pulled it and just took them on the -110, but whatever. Capitals plus 100 is a great comeback, losing in a shootout. Ken Davies says, I just love the angle fading teams off road. Highly emotional last-minute wins. It wasn't a road, though. That was a last-minute win at home. So, not quite your angle, but I get it. I get it, Ken. All right, let's get to work. And is there a season 2 happening? Yes, we're going to do a season 2 of all these contests, my man. Dan Kelly, ready to get to work here. And let's get your stuff figured out. I will figure that out here with Jose. I'll figure that out. There's Nutflush Allen in the house. He's at the hospital with his dad right now. Says popping in for a few minutes while dad is sleeping. Nutflush Allen, sitting at his dad's bedside at the hospital. His dad has some complications to that emergency heart surgery that was done. And we're all thinking about you, Nutflush, and your dad. And your dad's so strong. We know he's going to bounce back here. And with all that Nutflush is going through, he still gave us the Capitals team total over and the Penguins team total over, both at 3.5, both at plus money and both cash. What a guy. What a guy. Dan Kelly says he just made his contest picks. Justin McElvey, Kent Davies, the crew sending their thoughts and prayers to you, Nutflush, and your family. Cashman Titans moneyline in the over and Henry over 20.5 rushing at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. And a little on Hooper over 24.5. Beautiful. Jeremy Gonzalez coming off a 5-1 night. Well, we are ready to get to work here. Because we have a lot to do today. We start with the breakdown of the Grey Cup. We have Grey Cup here in Canada on Sunday. The record I have going into the Grey Cup, a little disappointing after the big year last year. And I'm on a 5-game losing streak, I believe. Disappointing. 39-40, 49.4%, minus 5.1 units. My ROI minus 6.46%, average line minus 111. Disappointing. I popped my head above, in the black, I guess like week 19, I want to say week 20, and it slipped up. We have Bobano joining us shortly. Grey Cup first, the standalone game in NHL. Then we're going to go South Florida, Tulsa, Golden Hurricane. We're going to move on to San Diego State, Aztecs, New Mexico, Lobos. We've then picked 10 games that Bobano and I will break down today in NCAA basketball. We start with the 2 p.m. Eastern Jamaica Classic, LaSalle, Wake Forest. Then we have Temple, Rutgers, Indiana, Xavier, Virginia, Baylor, UCF, Oklahoma State, Lipscomb, Bisons, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We have Bellarmine Knights, Clemson Tigers, Florida Gators, Florida State Seminoles, Villanova, Michigan State, and we close the action with Bobano with the Illinois Fighting Illini and UCLA Bruins. Then we welcome Dutch Boy Fresh to the show for NBA. So let's get to work, shall we? Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Bon Polo says Titans moneyline felt good last night. Nice job. Great job. And there are some NCAA games popping off. For us, we start with the 2 o'clock game is our first breakdown for that, Nasty Nate, and I apologize on that. We could take a look. Let's just see when these games are popping off and see if Bobano has anything for them. And I didn't ask him to prepare anything, so we can ask him. Let's just take a look at what times these are, because there's the Green Bay Queens University, Queens now in Div 1 basketball. And that's also in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Colorado, Texas A&M, Penn State, Virginia Tech, Buffalo, Drake, Lafayette, UMBC, and then we're in. So I'll ask him if he has anything for that when he arrives. Dan Kelly says, loving the Knicks money line. Let's get to work. Let's go. We start with the Grey Cup Toronto Argonauts at Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Mosaic Stadium in Regina, Saskatchewan, 25 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 15 miles per hour. It is cold on the prairies. It is cold. We'll start with the line history in this one. And there's been a brisk move towards the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Bombers open up at -4. They're now at -5, and it's heavily juiced. There's 5.5s and 6s out there. From a total perspective, it opened up at 47.5, and that's where it stands right now. There has been a 7-cent move to the under. Winnipeg pulled out a 28-20 win over the BC Lions to bring them to their third straight Grey Cup. They are the two-time defending champions here. And the most outstanding player, Zach Collaros, suffered a right ankle injury right at the end of the game. He says that he is fine and he's good to go. And the market is indicating that that is the case. He led the league with 37 touchdown passes this year. But if he can't go, Drew Brown of Oklahoma State fame will be starting at quarterback, or not starting, will get some reps. But Calero says he is fine. Brady Oliveira was a monster in the West final, 20 carries for 130 yards. We talked about Dalton Schoen, Bobano and I, last week, a season leader in receiving yards as a rookie, 1,441 catches. He had a quiet week. He was slowed down by the Lions secondary. And they're a very, very dangerous team. They've been the best team in the league easily all year long on both sides of the football. But the question is Zach Collaros' ankle injury. Then we have the Argos. They get out to a nice lead against the Alouettes. They clean up and win 34-27 to represent the East. McLeod Bethel Thompson, 299 yards. He was 19-27 for 2 touchdowns. He looked good. He led the league with 4,731 passing yards, but he did throw 15 interceptions, 23 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. And the big storyline for the Bombers and the Argos is Andrew Harris, hometown Winnipeg boy, starred with the Bombers, and he's now getting a chance to go against his team in what we think will be his final game of a great, great career. And this Bombers defense allows 86.05 yards per game against the run. They are very, very dangerous. They're a very dangerous squad. I've not moved on this, but let's bring on your first guest here who will be breaking down CFL, NHL, NCAA football, and NCAA basketball. Please welcome to the show, Ian Cameron in the house. Ian, how are you, my friend?
Always good to be with you. Breaking news.
Drew Brown confirmed horrible. Drew Brown, also the quarterback from this club.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know if that qualifies. We know that he's not. Well, we were pretty impressed with Drew Brown, but do you think he even sees the field here, Bobana?
No. Zach's fine. I think this is just, he doesn't need to practice. He's a great quarterback. What practice does he need? He knows these receivers. He knows what he's doing. He's a great quarterback. He'll be fine as long as he can move around with more than 80% mobility, which I'm being led to believe is the case. It's not that bad. He will be fine. The reason he's not practicing this week is precaution. Why risk something unnecessary when you don't have to?
That's what he says as well. He says straight from him, he says he's fine. He's good to go. There's no problem whatsoever.
He wasn't limping around. I was seeing him walk, and the reporter said there's no noticeable limp. There's no issues, it looks like, with him being able to walk. So I think it's fine.
You moved on the Bombers as soon as the line came out. Can you talk to us about that move, and do you plan on adding anything?
Yes, I definitely did. Winnipeg -4 on DraftKings was the opening line that I jumped on right away. You can actually still get -5, -120 at DraftKings right now, which I will lock in as an official play on the show.
All right.
To me, I'm not overthinking this. They're the class of the CFL. They're a complete football team, offense, defense, special teams. Janarian Grant, I think the best kick returner in the league this year. We know Mike O'Shea has always been someone that wants a team with good special teams unit. And I think I've got to shout out the Winnipeg defense a little bit, because I always thought especially the secondary was the weak link. You know, they're picking off Nathan Rourke last week. They're making good reads on the football. They are forcing quarterbacks into mistakes and bad decisions, and that secondary has come a long way. I thought that was always the weak link for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this season, but there's no doubt they've played better as the season's gone on. We know they've got Adam Bighill leading a very good linebacking core. We know the pass rush is as good as it gets. Jeffcoat and Jefferson. But that secondary, improving the way they have and making Nathan Rourke look, let's be honest, Nathan Rourke looked bad, against that Winnipeg secondary in the West Final. And you got to give the Bombers a lot of credit for that, because that's not an easy quarterback to shut down for 4 quarters, and they managed to do it. So the fact that they're forcing a young, gunslinging, strong-armed quarterback like Nathan Rourke into mistakes makes me think they're going to be able to force a few out of McLeod Bethel Thompson. I know the guy played good last week, but come on, Montreal's defense is not Winnipeg's. When you look at Toronto's schedule as well, 5 of the 6 wins down the stretch for them. Do you know who the opponents were that they beat? Ottawa, Montreal, Hamilton, Edmonton. That's the sisters of the poor right there. They haven't beaten anybody really of quality. They beat BC in a home game by 2 down the stretch in the season. And in that game, BC screwed up over and over again, had chances to win the game, and they fumbled and turned the football over, missed field goals, the whole bit. And they ended up losing that game by 2. And by the way, Nathan Rourke did not play in that game either for BC. So Toronto has basically beaten the weakest of the weak, in the CFL down the stretch in the regular season. We know the East Division top to bottom stunk this year. Beating Hamilton and Montreal doesn't do much for me. You got to think this game being in Regina, Saskatchewan, means it's a huge advantage for Winnipeg. I mean, you got to expect Bombers fans to outnumber the 2 Toronto Argo fans that exist on the planet in this football game on Sunday night. So I definitely think it's, you're not, no need to overthink this. This is Winnipeg to me. They want this too. If you actually look and see the desire on this team right now to be a rare CFL team to win 3 championships in a row, they want it badly. So yeah, Winnipeg. Now, if it gets much higher than this, there is a cutoff point for me. Like if it were to hit 7, I'd say pump the brakes a little bit. But anything less than a touchdown's a Winnipeg bet for me.
Well, I just want to ask one question, because I plan on waiting till the last moment to move on the Argos. I feel like it's just going to be too big of a spread, possibly. Possibly, we'll see. But the Bombers are just getting hit on every angle. What do you have to say about the one game they played each other at BMO Field, where the Argos played them very tough? What do you think? Was that somewhat of an example of what the Argos are capable of doing against the Bombers?
So I think they caught Winnipeg in a tricky spot that week, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's, and I remember, I think I kind of leaned Toronto in that game just because of the situation that was at play there, where Winnipeg was off these big games early in the season against divisional teams, and then they played Toronto after that. I know there was a situational element going into that game that was advantageous for Toronto. There's no question about that. And yeah, when you look at the schedule, you're right. There was for Toronto a little bit of an advantage there. It was I think it was a midweek game too as well for the Argos there. And look, the Argos did compete. I mean, they only lost. They ended up losing by 1, 23-22. But let's keep in mind, Winnipeg a little bit got some I remember that game very well. Winnipeg got some injuries in the second half. They lost a couple key players, both sides of the football. They had the big lead early. Let's not forget that. It was 17-3 for Winnipeg at halftime. And then they had a couple injuries, and maybe they got a little complacent with the big lead. You got to give Toronto credit. They kept playing, obviously, for 4 quarters. But I remember that game vividly, where Winnipeg had some injuries mounting in that football game. They had the big lead early. They kind of sleptwalked in the second half, kind of let Toronto back into it. So, yeah, give Toronto credit. Play 4 quarters, and you almost came back and you almost won that game. I remember they were that close to winning that football game, but don't want to give them too much credit.
I'm interested to see how high this line goes, and I'm going to move on the Argos when it does. We have Slatsy, and we're going on to one game in NHL, then it's all college sports here, and we're going to ask Bobano about these afternoon spots really quickly after this breakdown.
Yep.
But we have Slatsy's saying weather for the Grey Cup 6 to 12 mile per hour, or -6 to -12, wind gusts up to 23 kilometers an hour. Yeah, I have 15 mile per hour wind just without the gusts. It's going to be very windy in this game. What do you think about the importance of the ground game, and do you think that what is your take on the total at 47.5?
I'm really waiting until Sunday in terms of, closer to kickoff, at least, until I decide if I'm going to bet. And I don't even know if I'm going to bet the total yet. But yeah, to me, it's kind of tricky because this is a game where I could see it being 21-17. I could see it being really low scoring. I could see it being tight. I could see, both teams showing up defensively. Both teams are capable defensively. And I also could see this one turning into a bit of a shootout. I did not expect a shootout with Toronto and Montreal. And to me, I was stunned. I mean, I thought Winnipeg, BC would be the game with a ton of points in it, and Toronto, Montreal would be a defensive battle, and it was basically reversed last week in that division finals. But I think it's tricky with the total right now. With where it is, 47.5, 48. Remember, it only got to 45 in the regular season meeting between these two teams. To me, I would lean slightly to the over, but it's not something I'm running to the window to bet. And it's not something I'm going to even consider betting until I get a better, more accurate forecast closer to kickoff.
I hear that. Remo says they are not moving the Grey Cup to Detroit. You are right about that. That is.
I don't think Detroit would want it anyway.
I don't think they would either. There's your Grey Cup here this Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Bobano making the Bombers -5, -120 official. He does have the -4 in his pocket. And just like Nilo, I think the Argos can stay in this football game. And
hey, Hamilton did last year, but again, that was a true home game almost for Hamilton. That was at Tim Hortons Field. I think that is a factor. Not saying Toronto can't compete because of it, but there's no doubt Winnipeg fans are going to outnumber Toronto fans in droves. It's not even an issue. There's no debate about that whatsoever going into this game on Sunday. It's going to be a Bomber home game or damn close to it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think last year's Ticats are better than this year's Argonauts as well. But I feel like Calero's.
I think the underdogs have done well though in Grey Cups recently, for the most part. That's another thing that's favoring Toronto if you're looking into that.
I was so almost obnoxious about the first half under last year, and I thought I pushed it so hard to everybody. I legitimately thought that might be my most tailed bet of my life, and it cashed with ease. I don't have that for this game, so. It's going to take a little bit more time. Paul Thompson, no horse racing set up right now until probably the end of January, the week between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. Probably that week where we'll head over to Gulfstream for probably. But I'll tell you more about that as we figure it out. All right, now we have some questions about the NCAA basketball afternoon games. We have our first breakdown for LaSalle Wake Forest at 2 p.m., which is in about 2 hours and 25 minutes. So we're not rushing into college basketball, but there are some questions out here. There's Green Bay, Queen's University in 5 minutes. That's the beginning of the Jamaica Classic here at Queen's University, the new Div 1 program. Do you have any interest in that one, or have you looked at Colorado, Texas A&M, Penn State, Virginia Tech, Buffalo, Drake, or Lafayette, UMBC?
Yeah, make sure you're aware of this if you're betting college basketball. There's going to be a lot of early games the next, I would say, 7 to 10 days, especially next week. They always do this feast week, they call it, ESPN, and they've got these early neutral court tournaments. I know the Maui Invitational is next week. That's always the week. It's always the week of U.S. Thanksgiving, just prior to U.S. Thanksgiving. Every year they have that. There's just a bunch of them. Next Jimmy V Classic. I mean, you go on and on and on. There's a ton of these neutral court. I think there's one in Orlando next week, but there's a bunch of them. So you want to be aware that when you're capping the card, a lot of these games are going to start 11 a.m. Eastern, noon Eastern, 1 p.m., 2, 3, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So definitely want to be aware of that moving forward. Queens and Green Bay. This one's fascinating. Queens is a newbie, of course, to Division I college hoops this season. I actually think they play a fun style of basketball. They push pace, they push tempo. They're pretty solid, actually, offensively. Not bad from the perimeter. Very, very good inside shooting team as well. Green Bay is not necessarily a very good defensive team, and that's putting it mildly. Defensive field goal percentage is 339th in the country. I got to believe that game might slip over the total. Green Bay plays slow, I should say. So it's kind of a pace war here, but you've got two below average defensive teams and a total sitting at 137. I think the fact that this total is stuck where it is, in fact, it's actually gotten hit to the under, but I think it's been hit too low now. 137 is because of it being in a neutral court here. Montego Bay is where this is going to be played. So, but I think 137 now is a little bit too low. So it's not a strong play, but lean it to the over there.
A lean to the over there.
But
Then
we'll do rapid fire. Yeah, just so we can get the show going here, Jimmy. We'll do rapid fire for some of these early games here.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Penn State, Virginia Tech. I kind of like Virginia Tech. I like Mike Young. He's a good coach. Penn State almost blew a lead against Furman yesterday. Didn't think they played very good defensively in the second half. They got a deeper basketball team, Virginia Tech. I would lean to them minus the deuce there. I'd probably take a money line, Virginia Tech, minus 130 instead. That's what I like to do with those short favorites there. Furman, Old Dominion in that same venue, Charleston. Furman, very good. Same as always with Furman. They're one of the most efficient offensive teams in the country. But for Old Dominion's kind of the opposite. They play slow, try to rely on their defense. I lean Furman, but again, 8 after in a consolation game of a neutral court tournament. I'm not usually in love with betting those. Colorado, Texas A&M. A lot of money on A&M, even though yesterday that was a bad performance from them yesterday against Murray State. That team did not play good basketball there in that game. We'll see if they can rebound here today, taking on Colorado in this game. But, it was definitely a poor performance. Not that Colorado was any better. They lost as well to UMass 66-63. But I don't know. I mean, I've seen A&M beat up some really weak teams in their first 2 games. They play someone decent. They lose by 9. I really don't understand why A&M's taken this much money in this game, 3.5 up to 6 now. I mean, I haven't bet it yet, Jimmy, but tell you what, 6.5. I'm getting more interested in Colorado.
Yeah, you have to expect some sort of a bounce back from A&M. That was ugly stuff. We saw some ugly stuff. St. John's first half was just putrid. I thought the Nebraska look was going to cash. We also have 2 other spots here that we just want to touch on before we get to our work. We have 1 NHL game, but then we're getting college football and college basketball. Buffalo, Drake, and Lafayette, UMBC. Any interest there?
Okay, so Buffalo is definitely rebuilding a little bit. I don't want to say they're bad, Buffalo, but it doesn't look to be the same Buffalo Bulls team we've seen in the past. I don't think they are. And this Drake team looks real good. I mean, Drake, there's a brand new roster. They only have 12% of their returning production from last year. They're really having a tough time. And Drake, meanwhile, Drake looks great. Tucker DeVries, he seems like he's been here forever with this Drake basketball team. He's an outstanding scorer. They've got a great backcourt. They have an offense that usually puts up, big points, shoots a high percentage in a lot of games. This is one of those games where I'd think of 3 potential bets. I would honestly, even on a neutral court here, Virgin Islands, Paradise Jam, I would honestly lay it with Drake. I mean, Drake to me could actually romp this Buffalo team, in my opinion. And the money's kind of come in on them. The money's come in on the over. I would agree with that. Probably is a high scoring game. Maybe you consider the Drake team total as well, if you can find books that have it, because I definitely think they have the potential to put up a big number here against, again, a Buffalo team that we've known for years, been a pretty good team, but I think this is probably the weakest Buffalo team we've seen in years. They've had great teams going back to when Bobby Hurley coached them. Obviously, when Nate Oates was there, they had some good teams. Even with Whitesell here, they've had some good teams since he's been there too, but this ain't one of them. A lot of new faces, and they're clearly having some growing pains early in the season.
And then we have Lafayette, UMBC. Did you want to make anything official for Drake?
No, I'm not. It's just because the numbers moved a little bit. It was open 10, it's up to 13. So, ass end of the number in a neutral court game, no. I don't feel great about that. Howard, Wyoming is kind of the same thing. I mean, Wyoming's a lot better than Howard. I like the Maldonado and Graham Ike combination, inside, outside. Great offensive team. I understand why that total has gone up too. Howard plays extremely fast. They're not good defensively. Wyoming is very good offensively, so you could see a lot of points there. Wyoming was probably the side I liked there, but again, that's moved a little bit. But that Wyoming team, by the way, as well, when we get into Mountain West play later this year, that's going to be a team definitely to back. I like them quite a bit. They have a chance actually to be a dark horse contender to win that conference. I mean, not everybody's talked about Wyoming to win that conference, but they could. And Jeff Linder is a hell of a coach as well.
I love it. And we're going to get into NCAA basketball here shortly. And we start with LaSalle Wake Forest. Yep. And we also move into another earlier game in the Temple Rutgers game over at Mohegan Sun. So we'll be rocking there. We have one standalone game in NHL tonight. It's at 10 p.m. Eastern. So let's get into NHL, college football, and then college basketball. Great to have all you guys here with us on a Friday. That's the schedule, and then Dutch Boy Fresh will be joining us for NBA. Let's get into NHL last night. Almost close to a big night. Just had to settle for a night in the black, barely, but could have been a huge night if a little luckier after 16 minutes. Lost a shootout and lost in overtime. Kings, Canucks, Rogers Arena in Vancouver, BC. Jonathan Quick, I expect to be in net. But if they went back to Peterson, I would completely understand that call after the excellent performance he had in Edmonton. But I think they'll go back to Quick. Peterson's been bad all year, but both goalies have been
I don't want to
bad.
give Peterson too much credit for that performance against Edmonton, because if you saw the way LA played, that was a defensive clinic. They really didn't give up much quality to the Oilers offensively. I mean, they built a wall, as Trump would say, around Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. That's essentially what they did. They did an outstanding job defending the Oilers the other night, and full marks to them for doing it, because they just completely shut them down the whole game.
It was a perfect road game. I've been waiting for them to play it, and we did on the show here. I moved on both the Kings and the under because of allowing the Flames to score 6 goals 2 nights before. I was like, they can't keep playing like this. They won't keep playing like this. It'll be hammered into them to play defensive hockey. But this is a little different now. Moving over to Vancouver here. But Quick, 6-5-1, 3.09 goals against average, 895 save percentage. Against Thatcher Demko, 1-8-2, 4.02 goals against average, 874 save percentage. I made some mistakes with my thought process of this Canucks hockey team, and it starts with Demko. Last year down the stretch, when they caught fire and Boudreau tried to get him in the playoffs, they played Demko nonstop. Halak looked really bad in the second half of the year, and they overplayed Demko. And he had lower body surgery in the offseason. And the rumor out of Vancouver is that it's affecting him. Those of you who followed Demko closely know that he had heavy double hip surgery in 2015. And it was, I guess it sort of happened in the beginning of 2016, but he couldn't do anything. He couldn't rotate at all. He had said he had 0 degrees of internal rotation in his hips. He had double hip surgery and impingement on both sides, bone on bone, and torn labrums. And that was in 2016. And now he's had some surgery again. We don't know exactly what it was. I've been trying to get it, but Demko has not looked good. So that was a mistake that I made in my idea of this hockey team. I knew their defense was bad, but I didn't think that Oliver Ekman Larson and Tyler Myers would look this bad. They look so awful out there. And, I knew the trade for Garland and Ekman Larson was going to hurt this team badly, but to hurt us this quickly we're just screwed there. But I digress. Let's talk about this. Kings power play 19.5%, penalty killing 75%, Vancouver power play at 29.5%, penalty killing is at 63.8%. It's so bad. Let's just go to the odds here for this standalone NHL game. And, the Canucks are pretty appealing at this line. And they opened up as a dog. They're moving towards possibly becoming favorites. It's just a 3-cent move at Pinnacle, plus 101 to minus 102. This total opened up at 6.5 as a pick'em. It's still there. I find the total very difficult because I don't know who is going to control the pace of the game. Will it be the Canucks at home coming off a 5-game road trip where they won 2 of 3? They won the opener, won the closer. They beat Ottawa and they beat Buffalo, but they lost to Montreal, Toronto, and who's their other loss to? Montreal, Toronto, and Boston. So right now the cash at this point it's 50-50. You have 50% of tickets, 53% cash on the Kings. You have 29% of tickets, 58% cash on the under, which tells you that the Kings will dictate the pace of play. The Kings come in off their 5th win in 6 games, 3-1 at Edmonton on Wednesday. This is their 3rd game of the road trip. They play in Seattle tomorrow night to finish it. So this is the first of a back-to-back. They may be weary of playing certain players too much. And this Canucks team is a fucking mess. I did not want Besser re-signed. Besser pulled at everybody's heartstrings with what he went through with his father. And, everyone loves him. They loved his dad. And he got a $20 million contract, and he's not even close to that kind of a player. He's no goals this year. He's a -9 in 11 games. And it was a terrible, terrible move by Rutherford. You have to put that shit. You can't. It's not about who you like and who you care about. This is a fucking business. And signing Besser for 3 years, $19.95 million. And when we need to help defensively so bad, it puts us back even further. We're fucked now. We're just fucked.
11 games and no goals for him. That's remarkable. That's unfathomable.
But he's just been a different player since the back surgery and the wrist surgery. I mean, you got to be cutthroat when you're a general manager. It's not about feeling sorry or liking somebody. It's absolute bullshit. But
all right, let it out. Let it out. You're a
bullshit.
fan. You're an angry fan. You should be angry.
Podkolzin's been terrible. He's absolutely terrible. Hoglander, these guys, we have all these tiny little players, and Garland, Hoglander, they're just tiny and easy to play against with tiny little fucking shoulders. The Russians they've hurt us, but Podkolzin most of anyone. If it wasn't for Shen, we'd be the laughing stock of the league. We'd get beaten up everywhere we go. We get pushed around. Luke Shen's the only guy protecting him.
He's been one of their best defensemen this year. It's crazy.
Yeah. Horvat.
No offense to Luke Shen. When that's the case, you got problems.
Oh, it's a huge problem. Horvat is in a contract year. So now what? Now he's fucking Rocket Richard? Fuck off. Stupid. The Kings have a very strong forward group. Fiala, Velarde. Velarde, 6'3", 215 pounds. Where are those guys on the Canucks? Why don't we have any size? Trevor Moore, you got Kopitar, Deneau down the middle. Velarde and Moore can also be down the middle. Then you have Arvidsson, Kaliev, Kempe. This is the Kings are a good hockey team. I don't want the Kings after how good they looked against Edmonton, the shorthanded Edmonton squad. I don't want Vancouver ever. I don't know what to do with the total. I would assume the Kings are going to score 4 goals because Vancouver's defense is terrible and their goaltending shit. But why don't you take it away for us, Bobano?
I've definitely got my eye on the over potentially. But again, we're good because I don't see the Kings bringing the defensive intensity they did against Edmonton. And that's the one thing Vancouver is still somewhat capable of doing is finding the back of the net. They can't keep it out of the net. I mean, 4, 5, 3, 5, 4, 4, 5. I mean, those are the numbers of goals they're giving up in their recent games. But again, I want to see who's in net. By the way, you talk about Demko struggling, Demko being poor. There are 73 goaltenders in the NHL that have started a game this year. 73 in the NHL. So that's starters and backups. If you're a registered goaltender on this database here, if you've started a game this year, there's 73 goaltenders that have started at least one game. 73rd out of 73 goaltenders in goals saved above average is Thatcher Demko. That, to me, is just, I never in a million years, I thought we would have put a guy like Martin Jones there or someone else that would have been in that spot, 73rd out of 73, not Thatcher Demko. And yet here he is languishing with a minus 10.94 goals saved above average mark, which tells you that, and that metric is a little bit more, not more accurate, but it gives you a better idea when the goalie is facing great chances, high danger chances, grade A quality chances. How are they handling it? He's handling it not good at all. And obviously worst in the NHL in terms of goals saved above average. Number 1, by the way, in that category, and it's a good category to monitor, Linus Ullmark, believe it or not, of the Boston Bruins. Number 1 in the league, and I can't say I'm shocked. I mean, he's been absolutely terrific. Hellebuck and even Stuart Skinner of Edmonton is 3rd in goals saved above average this year. So you got to give goalies like that credit. They've been obviously able to stop the tough chances. I kind of lean Vancouver though in this spot. I got to admit I do because I know they're off a long road trip, but They've had a couple of days off. The Kings are back on the road tomorrow. They're off the big win against Edmonton. I just don't know if I can pull the trigger on it. I lean to Vancouver. I definitely am interested in the over. The Canucks have gone over the total 8-2 in their last 10 games, 7-1 to the over in their last 8 games. The total here, of course, as you would expect, 6.5 in this game. But I do want to see who's confirmed in net. I do have a little bit more trepidation, especially on the Vancouver side, if it's Spencer Martin in net as opposed to Demko, but they're projecting as of right now that it will be Demko. So I'm not going to make anything official for the show, but I do kind of lean to the Canucks here just based on the spot, and I do lean. I'm more likely to move on the over than Vancouver as of right now.
This hockey team makes me want to smash my computer and throw it through the window. It's just fucking sickening. It's just sickening that you have these so-called experts coming in here and making these decisions. I mean, I know we got rid of Benning and his terrible fucking decision making, but I was so excited about Rutherford, and then he signed Besser, and I was like, "What the fuck? What?
No.
What do you? Jesus? What do you?"
The thing with Rutherford is, what bothers me is I just don't have I just have that feeling that he does not give his GM Patrick Allvin, autonomy. I just get that sense that he's got his head stuck in every decision that is made. Do you fully buy into Patrick Allvin being the guy making all these moves and all these decisions? I don't.
Yeah, no, you're bang on. Let's just move past this shit hockey game. But I agree with you. I kind of lean towards the Canucks in this spot, but I don't want them. I don't want them coming back from a road trip. The Kings first half of the back-to-back, and this team is just absolute bullshit.
But at the same time, even though I think Vancouver, I was looking at them. Can I in good conscience take them at an even money price with how bad they've been? I mean, they're even money pretty much here. Can't do it. Hard to do it.
Garbage. Just garbage. All right, let's move past it. Let's move into college football. Bobano, you've been excellent here on the show in a small sample size. And I've had a very small sample size too, because I've only been betting. I've been betting Saturday games. If I don't cap it on the show with everybody, I don't bet it, and it's been working for me. Let's get to work in college football. Then we'll move into college basketball. We also have Fap Win, who comes on here and just gives out winners nonstop, giving out Virginia Tech -2.5 for Fap. Coming to us from Australia. Let's get to work here. South Florida Bulls 1-9, 0-6 in the American at the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, 3-7, 1-5 in the American Chapman Stadium in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 29 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 2 miles per hour is the wind. This has been an ugly season for both of these two squads, and it's cold. It is very, very cold in Oklahoma tonight. It gets warmer in a few days, but cold right now. Line history-wise, Tulsa opened up -12. They're now -14. Total-wise, they opened up at 60. It's dropped to 58. Let's go over to the cash flow here in this one. And we have 3,782 tickets in. 63% of the tickets and 73% of the cash is on South Florida. And I've been trying to figure this all out. I mean, do we simply say, and we'll break down the X's and O's after this, but are we saying South Florida is a public dog here, and the move has gone from 12 to 14 to get even more money on South Florida? I think that's a fair thing to say, and it would be fair to move on Tulsa even at the 14, but we'll talk it out here. Total wise, 65% of the tickets on the over, 55% of the cash, and it's dropped 2 points. Rand says backwood. And look, to me, when people just stop and leave the bum fights, I think they're making a terrible mistake. I think there's bum fights, so much money in these bum fights, and I think there's money in this one. Let's talk about South Florida. What a horrific season they've had. Starting cornerback of Bohannon lost to a season-ending shoulder injury in mid-October. Then they fire head coach Jeff Scott. They fired defensive coordinator Bob Shoop. South Florida's only win this year came back on September 10th versus FCS Howard. In the debut of interim coach Daniel DePrado, the Bulls suffered their 8th straight loss. This team is just falling apart. They're just losing and losing and losing. 41-23 at home versus SMU as 17.5-point dogs. And if it can't get worse, Bohannon's replacement, Marsh, is now hurt too. He's down with the season-ending neck injury. So they moved to freshman quarterback Byron Brown, and he came in against SMU on the final drive and he led the offense to a touchdown. Well, that's a great story, but I do not expect it to happen here on the road on seniors night in Tulsa. So the one thing he has, and the one thing that they've had this year, the one thing is they have a strong offensive line. So he's going to have a little bit of protection and a little bit of time. He has got some decent playmakers too, Xavier Weaver and Jimmy Horn. This Bulls team has a decent running attack too. Like Brown's being put into a pretty decent situation, a much better situation than you'd think for a 1-9 team or 0-9 team FBS. Their offense pretty good. Brian Batty, 873 yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns, and Tulsa can be vulnerable there, but UCF's defense is atrocious.
Yep.
They've allowed at least 41 points over their last 4 games. They're last out of 131 FBS teams in total defense. And Tulsa comes in off their 3rd straight loss, 6 of their last 7. Look, their season's over, but this is still an important game for them. Philip Montgomery's squad has dealt with their own issues at quarterback, and we'll get into that here in a second, but it's their defense. The Golden Hurricane defense is pretty good, but they're bad against the run. Overall, they're pretty good. They shut down the pass. They're 20th nationally, top 20 nationally against pass, but against the run, they can get hurt there. Davis Brin is still dealing with the shoulder injury. He started last week's game against Memphis. He did not look good, and Braylon Braxton came in. I didn't even think Brin was going to start. That kind of surprised me. I don't know if you guys did, but I thought it was going to be Braxton all the way. And they've got Keelan Stokes on the outside, who's a monster, 1,032 yards, 6 touchdowns. And this offensive line is so bad. They've allowed 42 sacks. They don't give either Brin or Braxton any time. And their pass defense is, allowing 288 yards a game, USFs. But I don't know if Tulsa can really take that much advantage of it.
Yep.
I don't know. And then this team, the Golden Hurricane, averages 127.8 yards per game on the ground. That's not very good. It's not very good, and it's a spot where you can attack South Florida. Take it away for us, Bobano, because before I started talking about this game, I thought I was going to move on Tulsa. Rand says 14 seems crazy. There's Chief in the house. Take it away for us, Bobano. Floor is yours. South Florida, Tulsa, Golden Hurricane.
I am going to move on 2 bets on this game that I wasn't sure I would be betting this game at all early in the week, but this line has moved to the point of outrageous on Tulsa. Tulsa has been a point spread disaster. Point spread's been Tulsa's been absolutely terrible as favorites for the better part of the season. You look at it, 14-point favorites against Temple, they don't cover. 5-point favorites to Navy, they lose outright. 6.5-point favorites to Northern Illinois, they win by 3. 6.5-point favorites at Wyoming, they lose in overtime. They've only covered once as favorites this year, and it was Jacksonville State. It wasn't even an FBS team. We're going to lay 14 with this group? Not a chance. Not a freaking chance that's going to happen with this team. With 2 quarterback issues, with Brin banged up. He played last week through injury, which was nuts. That was just ridiculous what Philip Montgomery did there, especially when you got to get this guy developed behind him. Davis Brin's done with Tulsa after this year. Why not develop the kid, Braylon Braxton? And finally, they did bench him in the second half last week, Brin, and then they got Braxton in there, but it was just nothing that I really, there's no reason to start Brin last week. He was just not good. When I look at it here, we'll see who's at quarterback. We don't even know yet, Brin or Braxton. I would think Braxton. I think it's time you develop him. And look, they don't have a good secondary, South Florida. But and their defense overall is not good at all, South Florida. They fired a coach. They're not a good team either. They're not good at all. They have quarterback issues. Bohannon's been injured and out for the season. Now, and by the way, people will react to the next quarterback being out, Travis Marsh. He's the guy that's hurt for South Florida last week and with the neck injury and out for the season. He was horrible, all right? People are going to react like, whoa, that's a big loss there. No, it's not. Travis Marsh could not throw the football down the field accurately. 51% completions for him this year. Terrible completion rate. Just absolutely erratic throwing the football. Look, we don't know what Byron Brown's going to be. We don't. But what we do know is he's going to get practice reps all week. They do think he's got some ability. We saw him take over, last week a little bit in that game against SMU. I think it's an opportunity to develop him. And, if you don't, if you're worried about him throwing the ball, don't worry about it. You can run the football. That's the one thing South Florida has been able to do all year is run the football. They do have a good ground game. They do have a good ground attack. They've been able to move the ball along the ground much of the season. And their running backs are really solid, especially Brian Batty. This guy's been outstanding running the football much of the season here for South Florida. And Tulsa has a atrocious run defense, absolutely brutal. They're, what are they, 123rd in the country with rushing yards allowed per game. 212 rushing yards allowed per game by this Tulsa defense. So, and look, I was on South Florida last week. I probably should have split it up first half and full game because they were tied actually with SMU at halftime, and then it just caved in on them in the second half. But we did see a pulse from South Florida last week. That's what I was looking for. After the firing of Jeff Scott, did we see effort? Did we see, did we see a give a shit level from the South Florida Bulls? We did. They came out strong. They were tied with SMU, a solid football team at the half, and then they just made mistakes in the second half. Defense got worn down, and the game got away from them, and they failed to cover by basically a missed 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Otherwise, they would have covered South Florida. So I'm going to go with South Florida here, plus 14 in this game as official play. 14 actually is. Can we get better than? We can get 14.5 minus 118 actually at ProLine Plus. I'm going to get the hook as well. 14.5 minus 118, South Florida. That's what I'm going to look at.
You are locked in here. There's no chance that I'll be on South Florida. This is a Tulsa or pass for me. And I get your breakdown, but Tulsa has covered 2 of 9 games this year. And, or sorry, 2, what are they? 2 of 10 games this year. And all the tickets and all the money is on South Florida, and they moved it to 14. That's when the market is asking for money on a dog and they're getting it and they want more. We know what happens, public dogs. I want nothing to do with South Florida. It's whether or not I can talk myself into.
Was that the case though with Tennessee last night? Because it kind of felt that way with that.
That was a very different situation in my estimation because it was at 3. All the money came in on the Packers. They moved it to 3.5, and they were flooded with so much money on the Titans that they had to move it back to 3. So there's some comparisons you can make, but across the board, I don't think you can. I don't see how this doesn't fall under the category of a public dog. It just does to me, and we know public dogs are a terrible ROI. From a
ECU though got there last week. That was public dog.
Yeah, no, it happens for sure. And from an X's and O's, I can understand your breakdown. But, that game, South Florida's game last week, where they fought, right? I mean, they played pretty well. It's at home. I think these losing teams.
There is some truth to that. Going on the road now. Meaningless game. Not that it's more meaningful for Tulsa. They ain't going to a bowl game either. But for South Florida, you're right. Going on the road now, do we have that same effort? You don't know what this quarterback's going to be, Byron Brown, but you do know you can run the football, and you do know they can't stop the run, Tulsa. So that's what I'm hanging my hat on in this game.
And that's a total valid statement because Tulsa's so good against the pass, and that doesn't really help them against South Florida when
and you can't build a margin of 2 touchdowns or more victory if you're giving up chunk plays on the ground and first downs, and the clock keeps moving, and they become longer drives for South Florida, and you don't get as many possessions. So it's fundamentally the matchups on the field, the X's and O's point to South Florida a little bit, but you're right. That situation of a really bad football team that's had a dreadful year with the fired coach, and they gave you the step-up effort at home last week in the first game without the coach. Do they fall flat the next week? There's some truth that could happen.
The more we talk about it, the more I want to move on it, but I'm going to have to sit with it now because you're on the other side. I don't just...
It's ugly. It's an ugly friggin' game, but I mean, and look, I wasn't going to bet it until it got to 14. Let's keep that in mind. Like when this line opened, it was Tulsa minus 12. Like at 12, I'm out. 12, I'm not interested in South Florida. Now above 2 touchdowns, I'm in.
So Lil C says on DraftKings, it shows percentage bets placed 86% on Tulsa. I think you need to be wary of these these free sites. So I guess they're giving you what's happened at DraftKings. And that's all fair and well. But, Sports Insight's been the gold standard of this for a long time. It's very expensive. And they have 27% of the cash on Tulsa and the market moving in the opposite. And that's
been a good week in college football for me. I will say that, because I had Tulane in the over last night against SMU, which was good. I had Eastern Michigan against Kent in the Maction. Bowling Green, I couldn't believe Bowling Green I couldn't believe they bet Toledo all the way up to 17.5 in that game. Did people not see they're brutal as favorites this year against the spread, Toledo? And no, it's been a nice week of college football. And this one I'm a little bit more lukewarm on, but I've got to go with it now that it hit 14.
Well, let's keep rolling. Next up for us, 9:45 p.m. Eastern, San Diego State Aztecs 6-4, 4-2 in the Mountain West at the New Mexico Lobos, 2-8, 0-6 in the Mountain West. We're at University Stadium in Albuquerque. It's freezing cold in New Mexico tonight, 24 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Another group of teams that haven't been covering, although, San Diego State's been much, much better after that 2-3 start. Let's start here. San Diego State opening up at -14.5. They're now sitting at -14. The total opened up at 39.5 and has dropped to 36 over at Pinnacle. 36. When we go over to the cash flow, you have 2,925 tickets in. By the way, Sports Insight has given both Tulsa and New Mexico. So a favorite in dog, about 20%. I would say 20% line value here. 47% of the tickets, 58% of the cash on New Mexico. And then you have 66% of tickets, 90% of the cash on this over that's dropped to 36. Wild. So San Diego's beaten New Mexico 8 straight times. Aztecs coming off their second straight win, 43-27 at home over San Jose State. They're bowl eligible, but they still have a chance at the West Division title. Aztecs 2-3 before bringing in Jeff Horton and installing Jalen Maiden at quarterback. Maiden was a quarterback, was a safety, and now back to being quarterback. And he looked excellent last week in San Jose State. 61 yards rushing. He's a dual threat. He threw for 268 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was a Mountain West Player of the Week. He's brimming with confidence. 1,253 yards and 8 touchdowns, 65.9% completion. And he's got weapons. You got Tyrell Shavers, Jesse Matthew, Mekhi Shaw, a running back, Jordan Bird, Jalen Armstead, Chance Bell, Keenan Kristen. Maiden has 171 yards rushing. And it's senior night in Albuquerque. New Mexico comes in off their 7th straight loss, 35-3 at Air Force. They allowed 428 yards to Air Force, and their run defense is allowing 164.1 yards per game. So they can't stop the run, and we know what the Aztecs can do on the ground. And they've averaged 9.3 points per game over this 7-game losing streak. 9.3 points per game. It's been 4 games since they fired their offensive coordinator. They replaced him with Ridnour. Nothing has changed. This offense is anemic. They are the worst offense in the entire country. 2,395 total yards, 239.5 per game. They've only gotten worse in their last 4 games. There's been a quarterback change. They have Justin Holiday under center. They've stopped using Miles Kendrick. Nothing has changed. The offensive line is terrible. Last week, the Lobos rushed for 44 yards. They can't pass. They throw for 108.5 yards per game. The only teams that throw for less are triple option teams. They had 172 yards. I mean, this is a Holiday. They got 8 first downs in their last game. In saying that, it's seniors night. San Diego State could look past them. What do you think here? Take it away for us, Bobano. San Diego State, New Mexico.
So there's no way I would take New Mexico, even on senior night. I can't. I don't know if I want to lay 14.5 with San Diego State, California kids going to a cold type of environment in Albuquerque tonight against a team that's not going to excite them all that much. I mean, but I will say this. They finally got a little bit of a passing game with Jalen Madden here. I mean, at the quarterback spot, he's been absolutely a fantastic here for not fantastic. Maybe I'm going overboard, but no, he's been really good. He's given them at least some semblance of a passing game, something Braxton Burmeister could not do. Jalen Maiden's been good here for this group at the quarterback spot. And because of that, we're starting to see San Diego State not only win games, but, win by margin, which has always been difficult for them. I've never liked laying points with this team. But, they were 7-point road favorites at Nevada. I think a team you can compare to New Mexico, and they won by 16. in that game. They blew out San Jose State last week, outgained them by 202 yards. Like I said, the balance in the offense finally is there. They can throw it with Maiden, 268 passing yards. He can run it. He's a dual threat as well. They've got Jalen Armstead, Keenan Christen in the running back spot to keep them balanced as well. So San Diego State, is capable of moving the ball, I think, here in this game a little bit. But what are you going to get from New Mexico here? 3, 10, 9, 9. They have not, think about that. They have not exceeded 10 points in 4 straight games. New Mexico State, Fresno State, Utah State, Air Force, just non-existent offense. Dreadful stuff. They've changed quarterbacks, Justin Holiday, and look, it hasn't exactly panned out necessarily for him so far in the opportunities that he's gotten. He only threw for 128 yards last week, 47% completions against Air Force, 38.9% completion rate against Utah State, which is just ridiculously bad, 53% against Fresno State. So since he's taken over as the starting quarterback against Fresno, he hasn't had a game with a higher than 53% completion rate. Tells you where this passing game is right now for New Mexico. It's a really, really tough game, but it would be favored or pass, and I opted to pass.
I think there's Wham Bam in the house. What do you think about the difficulty the Aztecs will have with the cold weather?
That's definitely real.
And
we
have the elevation.
Yep.
But if I'm saying the Lobos will be a little more comfortable with the cold weather, it's senior night.
Yep.
Then could they hold on for the first half? Would it be a hold on? Because I had them in their last win. I had them over UTEP, and it was glorious.
Yeah, they won that game decisively. It was probably their best game of the year, easily.
Do you think that the cold and elevation would hurt the Aztecs in the second half, or do you think by then they'll start taking control of the game with their, being more comfortable in the environment?
I honestly think that if they're out in the cold longer, they're going to get less comfortable in it. But regardless, that is a fear, okay? Because you're right. This is a warm weather team from San Diego traveling to the cold environment of New Mexico. And it is going to be cold there. If you look at any forecast, it's not going to be optimal weather conditions tonight for this game. So that's absolutely something that would concern me a little bit. Is New Mexico good enough offensively, though, to do anything about it? I mean, that's the issue here. Like, if they are going to score 10 points or less, just like they have the last 4 games in a row, that means that San Diego State is basically, if San Diego State scores more than 21, they're fucked. New Mexico, and anybody that backs them is in trouble here tonight. So that's, and the way all of a sudden we've seen San Diego State the last few weeks, 43 points, 28 against Fresno, 23 against Nevada. They did get held down a little by UNLV, but even on the road, they've been able to move the ball lately. Will New Mexico be able to score enough? I'm not so sure about that. I agree. The situational elements are enough to keep me off the Aztecs. My initial side lean in this game, which was San Diego State. But it sure as hell, at least for me, it sure as hell ain't enough to put me on New Mexico.
It's enough to put me on New Mexico.
Gonna try it out.
Yeah, it's enough to put me on New Mexico. I just think this is as difficult a situation as San Diego will find themselves against a horrible, horrible football team in a situation where they just clinched the ball with a huge outpouring of offense, feel good about themselves. Now they got to go into this freezing cold weather against a Lobo team that's sitting there on seniors night, that's 0-6 in conference. This is the type of situation that I find extremely appealing. Are they looking at next the Air Force and planning around how they're going to beat Air Force? This is a spot where I want to be on the Lobos. I feel like
the Fresno game in particular, I want to point that out. The Fresno loss at home, 41-9. That game was actually only 13-6 for Fresno at halftime, which would get the job done if you like New Mexico in the first half. And then in the second half, it fell apart completely against Fresno State. So I think if you like New Mexico, first half you're not doing yourself a disservice, or at the very least, split it up first half, full game.
Yeah, I think that's my plan right now, is to do that. And then I need to sit with you. I'm going to watch our breakdown again and hear you again with the USF Tulsa spot. Sorry about my son in the background crying, but I think Tulsa smashes.
Do you notice he started crying when she started talking about thinking about betting New Mexico?
Yes, I do notice that. I
don't think
All right,
that's a
that is
coincidence.
our NCAA football. So I plan on being on the Lobos. I plan on being on Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Oliver Page says, good point, but the weather hurts both teams. It does not hurt New Mexico as much as it hurts San Diego State. You know, this is they're being around much cooler temperatures than San Diego State is. But I hear you, Lucky Lefty. It's going to affect both teams, and that's probably why the under is being pounded. I like it. I think it's going to make for a really fun Friday night. I love bum fights, and I love betting on bums. All right, let's move on to college basketball right now. A great start to the year. A good start. Let me just say good start to the year. I am sitting now at 7-4. We went 2-1 last night. Lost on Nebraska. Cashed with VCU by a hook and cashed Charleston very easily. Bobano has only done one show with us. He went 3-2, plus 0.85 units, ROI plus 17%, average line minus 114. And we have 10 games here, and we plan to go for 38 minutes to quarter to 1 Eastern time with these 10 games. And then Dutch Boy Fresh will join us for NBA. And don't forget, tonight we have our first NBA live bet stream hosted by Razor Sharp Picks and Dabby Cab. Bucks Sixers, which we'll break down here on the show, but the boys will be betting it live, and there's no better sport to bet live, and we're going to be doing a lot more NBA live bet streams as we move forward. So big shout out to our guys, Razor and Dabby Cab. Bucks Sixers tonight right here at 7:15 p.m. The stream starts, and then the game starts 15 minutes later. All right, Jeffrey Blue says, on my way to the Boat Boys, Atlanta, Saturday morning to place bets. I would appreciate a DM with spots you like and futures included from Jeffrey Blue. I like it. Jeffrey Blue, hit me because I will I'm taking the kids down in Niagara Falls, so I'm going to be caught up. But message me and I'll send it in. Let's get to work now. We start in NCAA basketball at 2 p.m. Eastern in the Jamaica Classic. LaSalle Explorers 2-1 versus the Wake Forest Deacons 3-0. Let's open up with the line history here in this one, and then we'll get into the cash flow here. Let me just move over to NCAAB, and here we go. In this spot, popping off at 2 p.m., LaSalle, Wake Forest. We have LaSalle opening up as 8-point dogs. They're now 7.5-point dogs. They did get up to 8.5, but now sitting at 7.5. From a total perspective, there's been a 5-cent move to the under. Oh, this is Bookmaker. Let's go over to Pinnacle. Pinnacle opened up at 142.5, and it's now at 141.5. And they have the 8 to 7.5 as well. Let's move over to the cash flow in this one. LaSalle, Wake Forest. Let's see what we are being offered here. There we go. They've given slight line value to LaSalle. We have 2,357 tickets in. 52% of the tickets, 45% of the cash is on LaSalle. And then 77% of the tickets, 90% of the cash is on the under. We'll start with LaSalle. After opening the season with a tough 81-68 loss at Villanova, LaSalle's defeated Wagner 77-69, and they most recently defeated the newest Division I program, Queen's University, that Bobana was talking about a little bit off the top, 72-60 at home on Tuesday night. And then on Wednesday, they fly down to Jamaica. Wake Forest comes in off just barely winning their third straight to start the season, 69-66 in overtime at home over the Utah Valley Wolverines as 12-point favorites. Something to keep in mind in Wake Forest right now is people don't care about their basketball games. 39% full, 5,694 people were there in a huge arena. It doesn't make for a home court advantage. And we saw Utah Valley, take care of that right now. So that is our first game. Here is the 2 p.m. Jamaica Classic. LaSalle, Wake Forest. We'll wait for Bobano to return. I'll set up the second game that he will be dropping for us, and he is our NCAA basketball expert. I leave this to the experts here. I study. I set up the game. I study the market, and I hear what they have to say to make my bets, and it's been working. And we have Bobano back in action now. Jamaica Classic, Bobano, LaSalle, Wake Forest. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I like this Wake team a lot. I stopped short of taking them in this spot, but I do like Wake quite a bit. I like Steve Forbes, great coach. He's done a great job with this Wake Forest program. Might be one of his best teams he's had so far coming into this season. But, you're talking about laying a decent-sized number here with them on a neutral court setting. I'm not sure I'm in a rush to do that, but LaSalle on the season, they did remember that backdoor cover first game against Villanova, 81-68, and they've won and covered 2 in a row, Queens and Wagner, since then. But like I said, I'm not looking to step in front of Wake. Wake didn't play their best earlier this week. They played Utah Valley. They won 68-65 in overtime. They really struggled offensively, but I think they still did a lot of good things in that game. They actually held down Utah. The defensive effort, I thought, from Wake was pretty good. Utah Valley only shot 33% from the field, 13% from three-point range. They were minus 10 on the glass, so rebounding was a little bit of an issue there for Wake in that game. Just correctable mistakes for them. I expect them to play better here against LaSalle, and they're just a team I'm very high on, so I'm not looking to find reasons to bet against them. But again, you are talking about 7.5 on a neutral court. So I'd lean Wake, but I'm going to end up not betting the game.
It's too bad that Wake Forest got a wake-up call from a weak team as 12-point favorites. If they had not have been given that wake-up call, I would be on LaSalle here for sure. But I do not want to step in the face of a good basketball team that understands now that they have
and
to
if
play
you actually if you watch the game and you look at the box score, you see that really just Wake didn't make shots. They actually still played pretty well defensively. They do have to clean up the rebounding a little bit, which I think they can do in this game. It was just they didn't make shots. And that's obviously something that you would expect you can correct and will be better today.
All right, Robert Franklin setting us up for the next game. Temple Owls versus Rutgers Scarlet Knights. We're at the Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame showcase. Robert Franklin on Temple. Let's talk about the line history here. Opened up Rutgers at Pinnacle -4.5. They're now -5. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 133. It's now 131.5. Let's pull up the cash flow for this one and see what we are being offered here and where the cash is. We have 2,900 tickets in, 45% of the tickets, 59% of the cash on Temple. Then you have 64% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on the under. It's a lot of money on the under, and it's dropped 1.5 points. We cashed on Temple. Now, we didn't take them straight up, but we cashed on them against Villanova. They won outright 68-64 at home. It's 5.5-point dogs. They followed that up with a tight 89-87 overtime loss to Vanderbilt as 3.5-point favorites. And that was just on Tuesday night. Rutgers comes in off 3 easy home victories to start the season. They defeat Columbia 75-35. They beat Sacred Heart 88-50 as 21-point favorites. Then they beat UMass Lowell 73-65 as 13.5-point favorites. They don't cover. Awareness. Chris Temple back in the house. Great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Here, Temple, Rutgers, I guess now is being challenged at least. And maybe that helps them after just dominating 2 weak teams. But Temple's been playing tight, tough basketball all year. And this is going to be an interesting breakdown. I can't wait to hear it, Bobano. Take it away. Basketball Hall of Fame Showcase, Temple, Rutgers.
Yeah, this is another one for me where, Rutgers, I've liked Rutgers a lot the last few years. No question about that. Steve Peichel's done a nice coaching job. They broke, of course, the friggin' tournament curse. They hadn't been in the tournament forever. I like this basketball team a lot. And, they've gotten off to a good start. But again, you've played basically a very weak schedule. You played Sacred Heart in your second game. You played Columbia before that out of the Ivy League. UMass in the last game. And look, you struggled in that game to really pull away 73-65 against UMass. And Temple's definitely faced some tough competition. You play Villanova. Vanderbilt, obviously, they lose in overtime as favorites. You don't want to see that. And Vanderbilt, to me, has got some question marks this season. Obviously, they lose Scottie Pippen Jr. He was such a huge piece of what made Vanderbilt a good team last year. And so if you're Temple, you're not thrilled you lost that game outright. But now we got Temple in the underdog role. And, you actually look at the way they played down the stretch of last season. Now it's a different team. But, SMU, they won outright as underdogs last year. At Cincinnati, 7.5-point dogs, they won outright last year as well in the dog role. The Villanova game just 7 days ago, 68-64. So, yeah, to me, as much as I'm high on Rutgers, I think there is a little value in this number with Temple. So not betting the game, but I think this is a spot where you could look toward Temple a little bit.
Do you agree with this move towards the under?
I think it will be pretty good defensive battle between these two teams. I definitely don't mind that move whatsoever. I mean, you look at the way Temple has played this year. First of all, their offense has actually been better than I thought, but they don't play fast. 307th in the country in tempo. Their defensive numbers are still very good. And when you look at Rutgers, they're not going to play with a great deal of pace either. And Rutgers is a team that is known more for, I guess right now their offense is okay, but they can go through droughts sometimes, Rutgers. They are an excellent defensive team. And that's the one thing they've had with Steve Peichel. Defense, physicality, rebounding. They're very good. They can guard you at that end of the floor. So I think this move toward the under, to me, I would certainly look at this as a game that's probably going to be lower scoring.
I like that Temple has, beat Villanova outright at home in a city rivalry. I like that they lost in overtime to a team that they should have beaten and were favorites. I feel like they can stay within 5, but obviously, and we talk about this subconscious, I cashed on Temple against Villanova, and I'm thinking about it. And that's what happens to me with teams. Look, I remember cashing with New Mexico against UTEP. It's in my head, and that shit affects us. Yep. And that's why I always talk about how you need to read The Undoing Project, because we got to be consciously aware of it. Noli knows, by the way, says thinks it goes over. I'm leaning towards moving on Temple, but clearly I have a bias because I've already cashed on them in a tough spot. But I like that they are coming off an overtime loss. I wish Rutgers was.
And how good does that win against Villanova truly look? Because Villanova has not looked good so far. Let's come out and say it. I mean, whether it's an adjustment to no Jay Wright, not that I don't think Kyle Neptune's a quality coach, but Villanova's not looked right here in the early going. And I'm not just talking about losing the Temple anymore. I'm talking about that you struggled mightily to get past Delaware State on your home floor in the last game, 60-50. In fact, they were trailing for a large part of that game. So something's not right with Villanova. And I don't want to say it takes any shine off the Temple win, but it is something you want to factor in, that Villanova hasn't looked good. And maybe that played into Temple beating them a little bit.
No, it's a very good point. A very, very salient point. Important. Let's move on. I'm not sure about Temple, but I'm close. Let's move on to the Gavitt tip-off games. Number 12, Indiana, 2-0 this year at Xavier. 3-0, all home games. We're in Cincinnati, Ohio for this. Indiana opening up as 1.5-point favorites. They're now 2.5-point favorites. From a total perspective, it opened up at 143.5 and just dropped to 141.5 an hour ago. That's a pretty sizable drop in this one. We have 4,148 tickets in, a good sample size. 61% of the tickets, 65% of the cash is on Indiana. 41% of the tickets, 57% of cash on the over in this one. Indiana comes in off their second straight easy home win to start the year, defeating Bethune-Cookman 101-49, and it was 8 days ago. So they've been off for 8 days. They come off easy wins. It's not a recipe for at least the first half. Xavier comes in off their third straight home win to start the year. They defeat Fairfield 78-65 on Tuesday. I'm very interested in this one. Take it away for us, Bobano. Indiana, Xavier.
Yeah, I think I like Indiana a little bit here. I just think they're a little bit better basketball team than Xavier. Xavier's going to have to prove it to me a little bit more. Of course, Sean Miller's back here. Remember, he started at Xavier, then got the Arizona job. Now he's back here at Xavier. No, I like what I see from Indiana. So now they've played again. You got to keep this in mind. Moorhead State and Bethune-Cookman, so you don't want to overreact, obviously. But we've also seen Xavier play a light schedule, and they didn't play great against Fairfield the other night, 78-65, kind of not a great performance there. The only game they covered was the 86-64 victory they had against Montana, and Montana's gotten off to a rough start prior to last night, and I like that spot for Montana last night. They got it done against St. Thomas back on their home court, but I think I like Indiana here a little bit in this game. In fact, I'll move on this as an official play, and I'll probably go with money line here at minus 145. Looks like the best price there. I think Indiana is a little bit more of a trustworthy team. I think Mike Woodson here, year 2 as well. Keep that in mind. You've got a coach now that's got his system in place for a full season. Sean Miller still getting involved here in the first season, trying to get this team back to where he wants it to be. I think Indiana here, less than 3 I wouldn't lay more than 3. And like I say, with these short favorites, I'm more interested in looking at the money line, and that's what I'm going to do here with Indiana. Just take the Hoosiers here on the money line. You can get that. Actually, you can get a little better than that. -143 at Bet Rivers, best price.
You are locked in. Rob Stevenson says Rick Jones for Xavier game time decision. There's our guy, Robert Cherry, destroying NCAA basketball, says likes Xavier first half, Indiana full game. What do you think of that idea about Xavier first half? You've had Indiana at home for 2 games. They've been off for 8 days. Do you feel like they're more than capable of coming in sharp?
It's always, to me, one game, one case is, and one game might be different from the rest. Times you'll see teams maybe a slow start. Sometimes they're ready. When you look at Indiana with the 8 days off, sometimes that's a good thing. More practice time early in the season when you're trying to get your continuity all right. Which I think is a pretty good thing. Whereas with Sean Miller and the Xavier team, they've only got, a couple days in between their games so far. And remember, they're still trying to work around new coaching staff, a lot of change in their roster as well this year. I think when you look at the way it sets up, though, I would like to have a lot of prep time between games this early in the season when you're trying to get your chemistry sorted out. So I think that's an advantage to me, honestly, for Indiana.
Bobano has moved on Indiana -143. Let's move on to the main event tourney, and these are the big boys going at it. We have Virginia Cavaliers versus Baylor Bears, number 16th ranked Virginia versus number 5 ranked Baylor. We're at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas for this one. Baylor opening up at Pinnacle at -5. They're now -4.5. It's heavily juiced 4.5, but they did get down to 4. So they're back at 4.5. They're basically back at a 5. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 133.5 and has dropped 3 points to 130.5. Let's check out the cash flow for this big one, Baylor, Virginia. And there we go. We have slight line value on Baylor, 3,984 tickets in, but the bigger bets are coming in on Virginia. 22% of the tickets and 42% of the cash. So public on Baylor, bigger bets on Virginia. 51% of tickets, 79% cash on the under, and we've seen it dropped. Troy Torrance saying Tulsa game much more meaningful to Tulsa senior night. If you played college football, you know what I'm talking about. Look, I'm sold on Tulsa. I just need to watch our breakdown one more time before I can pull the trigger. I just need to, because there were some really good points, and I just need to go over them one more time. Because Bobano's on the other side. But I hear what you're saying, Troy. I think there's a few different angles that I like, but I need to sit with it. Here we go. And by the way, Robert Franklin saying, I agree, advantage for Indiana with prep time to focus on one team and work on any kinks the coach might see in his team. Interesting. DC Capper is on San Diego State at -14, so we'll be going up against each other in that one. DC Capper, Ixnizzle in the house. Great to see you. We miss you, but we're live betting NBA now on Fridays, so we hope that you can be around and jump on the stream. But let's go here. Virginia comes in off its second straight victory to start the season, 89-42 at home versus Monmouth. Baylor comes in off their third straight double-digit home victory, 95-62 over Northern Colorado on Monday. Take it away for us, Bobano, the big boys, Virginia, Baylor.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to bet this game, but sure as hell fired up to watch it. I mean, you've got obviously 2 teams that have been national champions the last few years. Actually, I think it was the 2 previous national champions prior to this past year, of course, when Kansas won. I think you had Baylor winning it 2 years ago, and then, of course, you had Virginia the year before that. So, obviously, these teams have pedigree. There's no question about that. I mean, Baylor's just one of those teams that can do it all, right? Every year. Good offensively, good enough offensively. LJ Cryer, Jalen Bridges, Adam Flagler, who's pretty much been here forever. Great scores, no question about that. Excellent defensive team. Virginia, though, I mean, they've been impressive so far, but again, you can only say they've been impressive against who they've played. Both of these teams have played weak slates, so this is the first real big tune-up for both of these teams here. They played NC Central and Monmouth were the 2 opponents for Virginia, Northern Colorado, Norfolk State, Mississippi Valley State for Baylor. So that's why this game's tricky. I mean, we know these teams are capable here. It's just who's going to be ready for this first real big test of the year. I think what is slightly concerning me, at least, if you're both of these teams right now, is Virginia's been shooting the lights out from 3-point range. Baylor's perimeter defense has been okay, but it's not been great, and not as good as their interior D. And then you look at the other side of the fence, Baylor, they are shooting 38% from 3-point range, 83rd in the country. Virginia, and of course, Virginia will give you threes. Obviously Tony Bennett for years, pack line defense, and he's definitely going to give you that 3-point line, the perimeter, and he's just going to clog up the lane, make it tough to score around the rim. That's just the way they play, but you don't expect their perimeter defense to always be great, but it's been really poor. 36% shooting allowed from 3-point range for Virginia. So, I know Virginia is going to play very slow. That's the way you're going to get it from them. But Baylor's defense has been, I don't want to say leaky, but it's been a little subpar compared to what we've seen in years past. And both of these teams are not only shooting the three well, both teams are struggling at the moment to defend the three in this game. So rather than a side, I'm kind of looking at maybe a sneaky over at 130. 130 and a half, 131 looks to be where this total is right now between these two teams. I haven't bet it yet. I'm sitting on it, but I lean in the over a little bit here.
I'm going forward and betting Virginia. I think that the points are enough here. I know that Virginia's going to keep this close, and I'd like the points.
The emotional element. Yeah.
What do you think of that? I find death a very tricky thing to cap because we never know how someone's going to handle a situation. You have some athletes who, have someone close or important to them die, and they step up enormously. You have others, and I don't want to say his name, Karl Anthony Towns, that disappear for a month. So, Mike, I'm saying Virginia campus issue could make these guys really step up. Stay away from me. What do you think here, Bobano? Quickly, because we got to keep rolling.
Does it galvanize them? You should be galvanized to play Baylor. Obviously one of the top teams in the country. Honestly, that's definitely the way you should be considering it. But the added element of that absolutely awful, heinous tragedy that took place on campus there, multiple deaths. I mean, it's just awful. I couldn't believe. I was just so gut-wrenched when I heard about it. It's just terrible to see that, hear that. You got to believe that they play with heavy hearts tonight. Like I said, you should be fired up anyway because you're playing obviously one of the top teams in the country. You think you're one of the top teams in the country as well, but that element does it. Honestly, I'm with you. If I were to bet a side, I'd take Virginia plus the points before I take Baylor. Baylor's defense hasn't been nearly as good this year. I am concerned the 3-point shooting of Baylor could hurt them, but like I just said, Virginia's shooting the rock well from long distance, and Baylor's perimeter defense hasn't been great, so they could trade points here. Like I said, I lean Virginia. I lean over the total here. I'm with you. I would take Virginia before Baylor in this game. And
I am taking Virginia. And Rance, this is a neutral court. Then so is the next one. Let's roll into the next one. Another interesting one. Baha Mar Hoops Bahamas Championship. UCF Knights versus Oklahoma State Cowboys. Baha Mar Convention Center in Nassau. Let's go with the line history here. Oklahoma State opening -6 at -108, now -6 at -109. There was a 5.5 there for a while. From a total standpoint, opened up at 135.5 and has dropped all the way down to 131. Shout out to Jimmy Gomez, now a member here at Pub Sports Radio. It means a ton to us. Thank you so much. Wine Time says he's all over Virginia. I love this. Rem Mo says under in the UCF game. We've seen this drop quite a bit. Let's move over to the cash flow in this one. We have 1,702 tickets in, and it's all UCF. 76% of tickets, 90% of the cash. Then 91% of tickets, 91% of cash on the under. I know we're not dealing with a lot of tickets, but that's interesting. UCF bounced back from a season opening double overtime loss at home to UNC Asheville, 98-95 to 7.5-point favorites by beating Florida State, who now we know is a very weak squad, then beating Western Illinois 70-37 on Monday. Oklahoma State bounced back from their 61-60 loss at home to Southern Illinois as 8.5-point favorites by winning at Oakland 91-62 on Sunday. Take this one away from us here, Bobano, UCF, Oklahoma State.
I'm going to take UCF, and I'm going to make it official here in this one. I'm just not comfortable with laying points with Oklahoma State this season. I actually cashed a ticket against Oklahoma State with Southern Illinois already earlier this year. You can get plus 6.5, by the way, at DraftKings with Central Florida. So let's take that right now. UCF's one of those teams I think it's going to be difficult to beat this team by margin. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be in a lot of close games this year because they have length, they have athleticism, they have a pretty solid which should be a pretty solid defensive team. It didn't look that way against UNC Asheville in the first game, but boy, they fixed it against Florida State. It looked like that UCF team that I thought, had the length to be a problem on the defensive end of the basketball court. They held Florida State to 54 points. They held Western Illinois to 37 points. A combined 37 of 110 from the field for those two teams in that game. So definitely, I think UCF defensively is going to cause issues here for Oklahoma State because, and by the way, I mean, we're going to really go crazy that Oklahoma State beat the hell out of Oakland. Oakland does not play any defense. Oakland just got totally embarrassed defensively by Toledo the other night. Now, Toledo's a great offensive team. No, don't get me wrong. They can shoot the ball. No question about that. But scoring a bunch of points against Oakland doesn't do anything for me. All right. So I know Oklahoma State shot the lights out in that game, 35 of 64. And let's see them do it here, neutral court setting against a team that's going to play some solid defense here. I've got a little bit more doubts that can be the case. And then again, you've got a free throw advantage as well for UCF. UCF has a better free throw shooting percentage than Oklahoma State. That matters when you're talking about obviously a team that is right now laying points in this range of 6.5. So I like UCF here. And by the way, they've been a very good underdog under Johnny Dawkins, their current head coach. So I like UCF here plus the points.
UCF plus 6.5. And what was the juice?
Minus 110.
Minus 110. I like the breakdown. I would prefer the market be moving towards UCF. And it did for a second, but it bounced back. And it makes me need to dive in a little deeper before I move on it. We have DC Cappers action here. And by the way, Jimmy Gomez going to be in Vegas tomorrow night for 13-game NHL card. I love it. I love it. There's Sanka.
Awesome
Welcome,
stuff.
Sanka.
Enjoy.
So Bobana moving on UCF plus 6.5. Let's move on to Lipscomb Bisons. We're heading to South Bend, home of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Lipscomb 2-1, 0-1 on the road. Notre Dame 3-0, all three games at home. I don't have it on my site for line history. I can tell you, though, right now, Notre Dame minus 13.5 and this total at 152.5 in this one. I wonder if there's enough tickets in for us to bang this out, and I will find out. Right now there's 466 tickets in, so not much help, but the public on Lipscomb so far 64% of tickets, but just 56% of the cash. So after opening the season with a disappointing 85-77 loss at South Dakota, Lipscomb bounced back by winning 77-75 at home over Belmont on Monday. Notre Dame comes in off their third straight home victory to start the season, 82-70 over South Illinois on Wednesday, and we've seen South Illinois play some good basketball already this year. Take it away for us, Bobano, Lipscomb, Notre Dame.
Sure as hell ain't laying it with Notre Dame. Not much I know. I definitely have. I might even go ahead and make Lipscomb an official. I am going to make Lipscomb an official play here. I might even make the over an official play as well because we know, too, with Lipscomb, that's a good offensive team. Looks like I'm trying to see what the best price is with Lipscomb right now. Looks like 13.5 is the best week. Yeah, 13.5 minus 106 Pinnacle with Lipscomb, plus 13.5 minus a 106 Pinnacle with Lipscomb. And Notre Dame doesn't look right. They really don't. They look at the first three games. It's not been pretty. It's been rough at the defensive end of the basketball court for Mike Bray's squad. I mean, they give up 76 points to Radford. Radford shoots 46% from the field. 79-76, win by the skin of their teeth. Youngstown State, they do win that game, 88 points. They give up 81, though, and they don't cover as 10.5-point favorites. They're actually 3-0, so it's not like the sky's falling, but they're 0-3 ATS, and that's what matters the most. Same thing with Southern Indiana in their last game. Southern Indiana shot a very good percentage. Notre Dame's defense is not locking things down right now. That's a problem against a Lipscomb squad that's got a good inside-outside offensive game. They're going to push pace. They're 92nd in the country in offensive efficiency. Now, granted, it's early in the season, but, they can throw the same problems with their offense at this Notre Dame team that's struggling to get stops at the defensive end of the basketball court like the first three opponents did. And they're coming off a win against a solid Belmont team. We know Belmont's always I don't know if Belmont's is as good this year as they've been in the past. I think there's maybe a little bit of a decline going on there, but still to get a 77-75 win over Belmont for Lipscomb in their last game, that's impressive stuff. They've started the season 2-0. Any team walking into the pavilion here in Notre Dame, Purcell Pavilion, Joyce Center, fired up to play a team like Notre Dame. Doesn't matter what kind of record they have or the way they've played. I think Lipscomb can hang in this game. and especially given the number. And again, 0-3 against the number. All his favorites so far this year for Notre Dame. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame here, plus 13.5. I'm also going to go with the over as well, because the one thing Notre Dame's doing is scoring so far this season. And yeah, we got 150.5 minus one. I've got to make sure again. I just got to check it. I know ProLine Plus is one of those books, Jimmy, in Ontario where, they're off market. You can get some steals, compared to what the numbers might be at some other books. I just want to make sure it's accurate here, but it usually is with these numbers. But I'm seeing over 150.5 minus 120 at ProLine Plus. Put that down now, and I just want to make sure that is 100% the number that's available there. But either way, I'm going to go with Lipscomb in the over for official plays here.
You got it. Lipscomb plus 13.5 minus 106, the over 115.5 minus 120. Great to see Sharpie, Big Show in the house, Travis Duarte, Oliver Page, Robert Franklin, Sean Pulliam, Fap Win. Thank you guys all so much for joining us here. NCAA basketball for 9 more minutes, and then Dutch Boy Fresh joining us to break down this giant NBA card. Next up for us, Bellarmine Knights, 2-1, 1-1 on the road at Clemson Tigers, 2-1, 2-0 at home. We're at Little John Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina. Let's take a look at the line history for this one. Here we go. Sorry, take me a second. There's another one that they're not. Wow. A couple of these games not on the board from my usual site, but I can grab it here where it stands right now in this one. What's going on here? Here we go. Right now, Clemson 12-point favorites. This total is at 133. That's the situation. I'll look up the cash flow, but I'm certain that it'll be a very small amount of tickets as it just opened up here at most books. So I'm sure it's going to be small. We have 693 tickets, and it's all Bellarmine. 88% of the tickets, 98% of the cash coming in right now against Clemson, who has not looked very good to start the year. Get by Citadel by 11, lose South Carolina by 2. I mean, it's just not being pretty. Their last game, which was just on Tuesday, an 81-70 win over South Carolina upstate as 21-point favorites. Very difficult to be enthused by what you've seen so far from Clemson. Bellarmine opened the year with a huge win at Louisville. They showed their class 67-66 and then lose at Morehead State 62-55. They're coming off a game against Minnow College, Campbellsville, Harrodsburg. Just a practice that they dominated immediately. Take it away for us, Bobano, Bellarmine, Clemson.
Yeah, I like Bellarmine here. Bellarmine's been absolutely I cashed a ticket with Bellarmine in that game against Louisville. To me, this is Scott Davenport's one of the more underrated coaches. This is a squad that I think they're pretty solid at both ends of the basketball court. Bellarmine, they play extremely slow, but offensively they're fairly efficient. And that's, I think, going to be a challenge here for Clemson. I think one of the things you're going to want to watch out for here in this matchup here is Bellarmine can shoot the 3-ball. This year, they've got a young guard. He's very talented here. Suter for Bellarmine. Peter Suter. He's very good. He's averaging double figures. He can shoot the 3-ball. And Bellarmine as a team can shoot the 3-ball, 33%. And Clemson struggled at that end of the floor in terms of perimeter defense. So definitely something you want to keep an eye on here is the fact that we've seen Clemson not exactly that great defensive effort we've seen so far this year from them. That's certainly concerning. And here's another game where, again, you're talking about a Clemson team that is, upwards of 12-point favorites in this game. And I'm just checking to make sure what the best line is right now. It looks like plus 12, minus 110 at Bet Rivers. It's about as good as we're going to do. So Bellarmine plus 12, minus 110. I do like that. That's an official play. Bellarmine is a pretty solid free throw shooting team, 73.7%. Clemson just 64% from the free throw line. So again, we've got another one of these situations where you've got a team laying double digits and they can't make their free throws at a good enough percentage and a good enough clip. That's definitely concerning for me. Louisville's a mess. So I don't want to make it sound like they beat, when you hear that Bellarmine beat Louisville, it sounds great, right? But Louisville has obviously fallen on hard times in basketball. Last year wasn't a great year. They're kind of rebuilding this year. But still, for Bellarmine to beat that team, that's solid. And we've seen repeated evidence of Clemson failing to cover and failing to get the job done against the spread as bigger favorites. And I've been against them in every game I think they've played this year. So I like this Bellarmine team. I think Clemson's overrated, overvalued. So that's why I'm on Bellarmine.
Locked in. Bellarmine plus 12 minus 110 for Bobano, and I am interested. Let's move on. We have 3 games left before NBA. Next up for us, 8 p.m. Eastern, Florida Gators 2-1 at Florida State Seminoles 0-3, 0-2 at home in Tallahassee. Things not looking good. Let's talk about the line history here. Florida State opening up as 5.5-point dogs. They're now 7-point dogs. This total has gone from 147. It's dropped down to 145. When we take a look at the cash in this one, 1,298 tickets in, 42% of the tickets, 79% of the cash on Florida, and 96% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on the under, and it finally moved to the under. Florida Gators coming off that 2-point loss to Florida Atlantic on Tuesday, and Florida State just losing and losing and losing. They opened the year by losing 83-74 to Stetson. Then they lose 68-54 at UCF. Then back home, they lose 79-72 to Troy. It's going to be a long season in Tallahassee. Take it away for us, Bobano. Gators, Seminoles. You're muted, my guy.
Yeah, I'm conflicted here. There's no way I'm taking Florida State. There's just no way. This team is looking brutal to begin the year. And I'm very high on Florida. Even though Florida obviously did not play well their last game. Again, it was just not a good performance. But I like what I'm seeing out of Florida. I think their offense is going to be more fun to watch with Todd Golden. Although their defense, you worry too with the change in coach here, that maybe their defense might fall off a little bit. And we've seen them obviously lose to Florida Atlantic outright as 12-point favorites. They 88-78 against Kennesaw. Again, I think their offense is good, but again, that defense has worried me here the last 2 games. They've given up 59 of 139 shooting the last 2 games, this Florida team. That being said, Florida State is not a team I'm looking to back. Not whatsoever. They're horrible. It would be Florida or pass for me, but I don't love the idea of laying 7. And this is actually a home game in Tallahassee. This is actually a true home game here for Florida State, but there's no way I would take Florida State. And I am high on the Florida Gators. I think they've actually upgraded the coach. Mike White never did it. Never impressed me with the talent he had at his disposal, where I think Todd Golden comes over from San Francisco, the Dons, where he did a great job there for the last few years. If I lean Florida, I might sprinkle a small bet on Florida, but I think I might look more toward points in this game because Florida State defensively has not been very good to begin the year. And look, Florida has had some defensive issues here these first few games of the season, and they haven't exactly ironed them out. So while Florida State, at the offensive end of the basketball court has had a couple games where they've struggled, it's been more their defense that's let them down. This one, we might be able to see enough points to get over the total. And I'm not so sure I'm in agreement with the market betting this total down to 144.5 the way they are. So let me just check, see what we've got here. The best number. Yeah. 144.5 minus 110, bet 365. I will make the over an official play here.
You don't think the rivalry aspect could come in to help this go on? That was my first thought when I saw it move from 147 down, was that they feel that the rivalry aspect will push Florida State to fight. But you think that will push fans in the arena and allow points to be scored?
I don't know. Florida State football is on a roll right now. I honestly think that's probably where the time, the energy, and the focus is right now, probably with the fan. Like, I'm sure it's Friday night. You'll get a decent crowd. It's, a rivalry game, but I don't know if it's going to be a huge home court edge for Florida. They've just been so bad defensively. I mean, it's really shocking to see just how they haven't been guarding. That's why they're 0-3 against the spread this year. Like I say, I really think there's a potential for this Florida team to be quite good in time. I actually had this number even a touch higher than this, but I know what this is like. This is kind of feels like a buy low spot for Florida State, and you are buying low because you could make an argument that before the first game of the season a week or so ago, this would have been closer to Florida, maybe a short road favorite, something in the 2-3 range, not -7. So yeah, that's also why I'm laying off Florida. I just don't love the number enough.
All right. I was thinking of the under, but I guess I'm going to hold off at this point. Let's move on to the next spot on the board for a second to last game before NBA. Gavin tip-off games. Villanova Wildcats 2-1. 0-1 on the road at Michigan State Spartans. We head to the Breslin Center for this one. Villanova opening up at plus 5.5. They're now at plus 6.5. This total opening up at 133 has dropped to 130. And when we take a look at the cash, we have 2,231 tickets in. 43% of the tickets, 47% of the cash on Nova. And 47% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on the under. And we've seen it drop 3 points here. We have Nova not looking good. You talked about squeaking by Delaware State after losing to Temple, and Michigan State off two just extremely exciting games, but coming off beating Kentucky in double overtime, 86-77. Take it away for us here, the Breslin Center, in effect, for Villanova, Michigan State.
This is a tricky game, all right, because Villanova's not playing well. They've got some issues. I've not liked what I've seen. They lose to Temple. The Delaware State game, it was stunning to me that they were actually trailing by 3 at halftime to a MEAC team, quite honestly. But there's definitely some problems right now. And look, they shouldn't be this bad. I know they've got some, roster personnel turnover, but they brought back Caleb Daniels, Eric Dixon. They've got the next Archidiacono in line now on this team as well. They still bring that solid defense. It's just offensively, really, they've had some tough times the last 2 games against Temple and against Delaware State. And then you look at Michigan State, they've run the gauntlet, whereas, Villanova's played LaSalle, Temple, and Delaware State. Temple's a decent team, but nothing like the strength of schedule Michigan State's faced in their first 2 games. I mean, does it get tougher than Gonzaga and Kentucky in back-to-back games? They had the tough loss against Gonzaga. They won against Kentucky in overtime, 86-77. Neutral court, they played against Gonzaga, of course, that game, and they lost 64-63. That was that special environment there, the USS Abraham Lincoln out in San Diego. So you go from San Diego to the neutral court game that they had in Indianapolis against Kentucky on Tuesday night, and now you're back home. I mean, they've had a whirlwind here. Do you really want to lay 6.5 with Michigan State in this spot? Not really. But do I trust Villanova enough? Not really. That has me passing.
Danzo cashed with Murray State money line, and he sent me a message early this morning saying it was Murray State yesterday. Today it's Villanova money line that he's moving on for a big score.
Wow.
No movement for us. Final game here on the board for college basketball and with Bobano is number 19, Illinois fighting Illini, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada, going up against number 8 ranked UCLA Bruins. Right now we have UCLA at -3. This total at 145.5. We don't have the line history because it popped up late, but we can give you the cash flow here. And there's 2,584 tickets in. 36% of tickets, 53% of the cash on the Illini, 62% of tickets, 81% cash on the under. Take it away here, Noli. Last game on the board, Illinois, UCLA.
Yeah, I like Illinois here, plus 3.5. DraftKings has it 3.5 -110. I think it's a close game. It's obviously in Las Vegas, so obviously a little bit shorter travel for UCLA, but T-Mobile Arena. But no, I think this is going to be a good basketball game. But again, when I look at Illinois, both of these teams haven't really been tested. Illinois played Eastern Illinois, UMKC, and then, of course, Monmouth after that. And Monmouth's a disaster. UCLA, their schedule has not been any better in terms of not facing anybody. Sacramento State, Long Beach State, Norfolk State going into this game. But, yeah, I like Illinois here, plus the points in this one. Noli liking the over. I could see it. I mean, UCLA does want to play more half court, defensive-minded style, but obviously Illinois doesn't mind running and gunning in this game. I'm kind of torn on the total. I think it could go either way with that, but no, I like Illinois here going into this game. I think when you look at the what they've got, the newcomers have stepped up. Terrence Shannon was a great transfer, getting him from Texas Tech, 22.7 points per game. He's averaging this year. Jaden Epps, the freshman's been solid so far this year for Illinois. Brad Underwood continues to do a nice coaching job, recruiting job here at Illinois. When you factor in, they lost a lot of key personnel from last year. The big guy's gone. Corbello's gone. So you look at what they've lost, and yet they've still been able to replenish the talent level. And this looks like, once again, a team that in Illinois that's going to be very, very good. Matthew Mayer as well. This is a guy that we've remember him, of course, from his years at Baylor. That national championship winning residue and pedigree that he brings to the table for Illinois sure helps them out a lot as well. And then when you look at the UCLA side of things, they've been obviously untested as well, but they've had some issues so far trying to find that next guy that's going to step up. They rely a lot on Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell, the two holdovers from the last couple of seasons at UCLA. I think they're still looking for that third option. I think defensively they've had a solid start, but they've had some games where they've fallen into these lapses defensively. Kind of happened in the Long Beach State game a little bit. I think now they're going to be really challenged by this Illinois team. And look, UCLA is capable of winning the game. I don't mind that they're favored slightly, although I had this probably around -1, pick them -1. I think they're giving UCLA a little too much for the location of this game being in Las Vegas. And I think now at 3.5, I think Illinois got every equal opportunity to win this game as UCLA, and you're getting the 3.5 with them as opposed to laying the 3.5. So I think there's value on the Illini, and I think they're capable of winning.
There you have it. Great job, Bobano. Let's review all NCAA basketball before we welcome Dutch Boy Fresh for NBA. I'm close to moving on Temple plus the points. Bobano starts with Indiana money line. I am moving on Virginia. Bobano's moving on UCF plus 6.5. He's moving on Lipscomb plus 13.5, which did pique my curiosity. I'm going to look at it a little more. He's also on the over 150.5 and -120 in Lipscomb Notre Dame. He's on Bellarmine plus 12 and -110. I'm joining him. And Noli gave out the Bellarmine Clemson under, and I just love me Clemson unders. And I also think if Noli likes the under and likes the pace of play to be slow, that helps for the double-digit dog as well. So I'm going to be doing that. I was going to move on the under 144.5 in Florida State, but Bobano's on the over, so that's going to give me pause. The Villanova, Michigan State, we stayed off. Bobano is on the Illini plus 3.5 -110 to fulfill his card. I'll review the rest of Bobano's action after NBA. Bobano, thank you so much for rolling with us. Love working with you. A big NBA Pub Hub today at 4, and then our big NCAA basketball show at 5, and then tomorrow morning NCAA football Pub Hub at 10 a.m. Eastern. So you got a full schedule, my friend. Go out there and get that cash. Follow Bobano on Twitter at Bobano. Bobano, any last words?
Yeah, just that, I have more plays than what I gave out here on the show today. But again, I try to keep the official show plays to the games that Jimmy selects and we talk about on the show. But I've got more. And if you want to know what they are, watch Net Profit later today, 5 p.m. Eastern. Me and Connor Mack, and we'll break down the remaining games on this busy Friday card. And also NBA Pub Up, Me Ski Profit, Billy Briz today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, breaking down the NBA card. Have a great weekend, everybody. We love the interaction. Hit the like button, 214 live viewers. Let's get that cash and let's have a big weekend.
There he is, Bobano. We go from Hamilton, Ontario to Las Vegas, Nevada. Your next guest had the finest season we ever had from any guest that I ever had from any guest in the 5 years I've been doing this publicly. And just following off from where he left off, or is that not how you say it? It's been a long show. But 4-1 last week in his second appearance here on the show. He opened 1-3, immediately back in the black. Just took one show to get back in the black, where he belongs. Please welcome our NBA expert. You can catch him here every Friday, coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada, Dutch Boy Fresh. Dutchy, what's good?
Jimmy the motherfucking bag. Salute to you. All the real ones holding it down in Wi-Fi land. You already know it's all love. Hey, the NBA is a hell of a drug. And you're looking at the plug. Yeah, man. How we doing, Jim?
We're doing good. We have a massive card. I loved what you did last week, showing absolutely no fear in spots that it seemed like sharps were on the other side. You completely destroyed. You would have swept the card had Shea not being pulled in the fourth quarter. You would have gone 5-0. So I can't wait to get to work Let's do it right now, and let's attack this card. Dutch Boy Fresh joining us, and we have a beauty 11-game card here. Let's get right to work. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I actually meant to bet this. Oh, my God, of course. Fuck, I meant to bet. There was 2 bets I was going to make. I just got caught up in prepping for college basketball. Fuck, man. What?
You talking about the Wizards?
Yeah, I was going to get him at 1.5 here, minus 105.
6 now.
Oh, God. This is the second day in a row where I just get overwhelmed. Or, sorry, I guess that was on Wednesday with the fucking Rockets. God damn. I usually don't make bets before the game, but I loved the Wizards getting snapped by the Thunder late there, and now there's this. Oh God, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Wizards opening up at -1. They're now -6.5. The total opened up at 219, dropped to 217. We knew Bam was going to be out, and when you go up against the Wizards and you have the fucking unicorn jaunting around the perimeter, you don't want to go up against Bam. Bam would have hurt them badly, and Bam out. That was enough for me. Oh, God. Go over to the cash flow here. 71% of tickets, 92% of cash on the Wizards. Total-wise, 47% of tickets, 93% of cash on the under. Let's just set a quick table here for Dutch. Miami 3-2 over the past 5, playing at a pace of 95.71 possessions a game. Washington 4-1, playing at a pace of 100.30 possessions a game. He had their 3-game winning streak snapped in a 112-104 loss at Toronto on Wednesday. No Bam with the left knee injury. They're also not going to have Oladipo for the rest of the road trip. 23 turnovers. We're out rebounded 42-23. Out rebounded on the offensive glass 16-4. And that's what happens when there's no Bam. Max Strus goes for 20 to lead 6 players in double figures. Wizards had their 4-game winning streak snapped, a 121-120 loss at home to the Thunder. I tell you guys often that for me, there's certain spots in a homestand that I love, and this is one of them. Also, the Wizards seeing 17, 16-point leads disappear. Beal coming back after 5-game absence and looking good. I don't know I don't expect the Wizards to keep shooting the way they are, but fuck, sucks. I meant to make this a move before the fucking show started. Take it away, Dutch Heat Wizards.
Yeah, man, we talked about this game kind of a lot for it being where it is now, so I guess I won't go too much into it, but I bet the Wizards last night. I like the Wizards here. I knew Hero was out, no Bam. The Wizards been playing good ball, but now no Jimmy Butler as well, so, I mean, you missed the boat if you want the motherfucking Washington Wizards. I ain't gonna lie to you. But Miami Heat have not been the motherfucking Miami Heat. 1-4 ATS, last 4 on the road, 3-12 ATS on the season. They have been damn near an auto fade. 1-8 ATS last 9 versus the Eastern Conference. I was definitely very happy with my bet last night with the Wizards here. I do believe they'll win this game comfortably, but I would not recommend laying 6. They are 5-1 ATS last 6 at the house, 1-4 last 5 games, playing good basketball right now. Bradley Beal's looking healthy. I like the additions they've made, and obviously KP, if he's going to continue to play the way he is. I believe there's value on this team. I spoke about it earlier in the season. I kind of like this Wizards roster, but they're kind of also streaky as well. But with Barton in there as well, I like him. He can obviously get hot. But I just and they do have a lack of size. So obviously with Bam not being there, Miami really has nobody. I believe they have Deadman out there. After that, he's questionable. Miami has no size, and Bam is kind of undersized as it is, but plays above his height. So I don't believe it'll be an issue with the rebounds. Obviously, no Jimmy out there as well. So this is pretty much a smack spot here for the Washington Wizards. But I mean, why are you gonna go bet -6 now?
Yeah, can't bet -6 now. That's very, very upsetting. I was going to move on the Wizards and the Pelicans. I guess the Pelicans is now 2.5 from 3. This is extremely irritating. Just leaving money on the fucking table here. All right, let's move on to the next spot on the board. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte Hornets 4-12, 3-6 on the road. At Cleveland Cavaliers 8-6, 4-1 home. We're at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. Charlotte 1-4 over their past 5, playing at a pace of 98.16 possessions a game. Cleveland 0-5, playing at a pace of 97.70 possessions a game. Cavs open up at Pinnacle at -9. They're now -9.5. From a total standpoint, opened up at 221.5, now down to 220. We take a look at the cash flow in this one. 2,395 tickets in, 48% of the tickets, 60% of cash on the Cavs. And then you have 64% of the tickets, 88% of the cash on the over. interesting. That would be on the over. This total has dropped a point, and neither team is playing with much pace. Hornets coming off their 9th loss in 10 games, 125, 113 at home versus Indiana on Wednesday. LaMelo came back, put up 26, and then hurt his ankle on a fan's foot with 1:34 out or left. So he's out for this game. He had missed 13 games, came back for 2, now gone. Cavaliers coming off their 5th straight loss, 113-98 at Milwaukee on Wednesday. Cavs don't reach 100 points for the first time all year. First time all year they've lost by more than 7, and they begin a 4-game homestand over the next 6 nights. So we got to keep a close eye on 4 games and 6 nights. I love when we get opportunities like this to focus on a team in the same location in a short period of time. You can really, really find edges and angles. Take it away for us here, Dutch. Hornets, Cavs.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Mr. Blessum, Ixnizzle. Good to see you, my man. Ski, I see you, bro. Razor, man. Hey, I like fitted hats, but snapbacks seem to be the dopest sometimes. So I have to cop a snapback here and there. Just to answer my boy's question. Great call too. Faded his team, the Packers, and just smacked around with the Titans yesterday. Good shit, my guy. This right here is a feel-good spot, in my opinion, for the Cleveland Cavaliers. You touched on it, Jim. You touched on it a lot, so I don't really got to go into much. They're 4-1 straight up at the house and ATS this year. 7-1 ATS last 8 versus the Eastern Conference. And this right here is just going to be a smack city spot, I believe. Shout out to our guy, Jay Money. I believe, the Hornets are auto fade. They did have a good game against the Magic of late. LaMelo, I don't believe will play. Gordon Hayward is now upgraded to questionable, but I still don't believe he's right. Dennis Smith Jr., who's actually played back to what we've seen a little bit in the prior career, earlier in his career, is also out as well. But the Cavs need a win. They played very good. They played the best basketball probably outside of maybe, I would see they even played better than Utah the first 2 to 3 weeks of the NBA season. Now they've lost 5 straight, like you mentioned, and losing, pretty much having their most putrid effort here in the last game out. Our guy Jared Allen is questionable. I believe he will play. I believe Cleveland wants to, them boys there. They like that basketball team at home. It's time to rally up, get this win here, and put it on a motherfucking Charlotte Hornet team that I believe is very suspect. They're 2-8 ATS last 10 overall, 1-9 straight up last 10. The only win in the last 10 games is against the Orlando Magic. Last time in Cleveland, by the way, they did smack around these boys in Cleveland by 19. Now, obviously, Spider wasn't out there, but Garland was out there. Garland was out there, as well as Mobley and Jared Allen. So I'm sure they remember the Hornets because, these boys, LaMelo, and them, they like to dance a little bit when they're up. So they put it on them in Cleveland by 19. This is a get-right spot. Give me the first quarter, minus 3.5, minus 105. First half, minus 5.5.
Let's get you that.
If you can see a 3 out there in the first quarter, it's good.
Yeah, there's a 3 that I could bet right now. I bet 365. I bet you we can even beat that. Let me just jump around here and see if I can grab it for you. So is this a triple up or just first quarter, first half?
No, I'm going to stay away from the full game, but I do think the full game is good too.
-3 first quarter, Cavs -3 at -112. And first half, I like this. This makes a ton of sense. This is just the kind of angle that I just love. You have a team on a 5-game losing streak. You're coming home against a beaten up team that you would usually look past if you hadn't lost 5 straight games, and you need to get right. You just scored less than 100 points. You need to put your foot on the throat as soon as the ball is tipped. And this just makes a ton of sense. 5.
Yeah, I like this. I like this look a lot here, and I don't usually double down, especially early in the season as much. But my double down spots have been pretty solid with Dallas early, and I just don't like laying double digits in any sport, to be quite honest with you. So I'm not scared of the full game, but I just don't really do those type of things.
Oh, I like where you're at here, and I would like to get involved here.
Our guy Stan Coleman, I see you.
Dutch is on the board. TJ says you need 4 points to win the first quarter here. Just parlay the first quarter money line with the Wiz money line. Interesting look from
parlay.
TJ. Interesting.
I'm going to have to just sweat my games out singly, bro. But best of luck to you, my guy.
And it pays plus 113. All right, let's roll on. I don't mind needing 4. The key is that it's not a 3.5. But I hear you. Spenny Penny Bombs looking at the Garland double. All right, let's move on to the next spot on the board for us. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Milwaukee Bucks 11-3, 3-2 on the road at the Philadelphia 76ers. 7-7, 4-4 at home. We're at Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and this basketball game right here will be the live bet stream for Friday night on Pub Sports Radio, starring Razor Sharp Picks and Dabby Cab. What a fun game to break down. Milwaukee 2-3 over the past 5 in playing at a pace of 98.69 possessions a game. Philadelphia 3-2 playing at a pace at 100.20 possessions a game. Let's go to the line history here in this one. Sixers opening up at -2 are now -1.5, and that's at +101. So one's on the board. And this total is dropped fast, 216.5 to 212.5. A very quick drop. Then let's go over to the cash flow and see if it's all Bucks. It's not really. 4,564 tickets in, 45% of the tickets, 54% of the cash on the Bucks. And then the under is being hammered with just 31% of the tickets, but 85% of the cash. Big bets coming in on the under, and the books concerned about that action. Milwaukee snapped their 2-game losing streak with a 113-98 win at home versus Cleveland on Wednesday. Brook Lopez went off 7 threes, 29 points. Noor comes up for 21, and Antetokounmpo 16, 12, and 8. This team is beat up, and Middleton, Connaughton, and Slow-Mo Joe haven't played yet this year. And then no Drew, Grayson Allen, Wesley Matthews against Cleveland. 76ers coming off their second straight win, 105-98 at home over the Jazz on Sunday. Joel Embiid goes for 59 points, 11 boards, 8 assists, 7 block shots. And now he gets 5 days off, which is the way he'd like to play. He'd prefer a college schedule, this fucking guy. No Harden, no Thibault, and no frickin' Korkmaz. Take it away for us, Dutch. Bucks, Sixers.
Yeah, man. I before I break this down, I think Philly's fugazi as fuck. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really not big on James Harden. Now his ass ain't out there, but I only really like Maxey. Obviously, Embiid has his moments, but I question his his character when it comes to being an NBA basketball player on a daily motherfucking basis. But they have had some decent wins at the house. But I think the key here in this game is the Bucks are too big for these boys. I simply believe that. I believe rebounding is the motherfucking going to be the key to this game. The Bucks are number 1 in the NBA in rebounding, obviously, with Giannis. They got Brook Lopez, and they got obviously Bobby Portis too coming off the bench. They've been starting a lot as well with the injuries. Sixers are 29th in the NBA. All right, there's 11 rebounds per game difference between these two boys. And in my opinion, when I say the Sixers are fugazi, it starts from Mr. fucking Glenn Rivers all the way down to their best player, Mr. Embiid. I just think he's soft. I really do. I believe the whole team. Tobias Harris is fucking soft in my opinion. And of course, James Harden is soft. We don't got to talk about him no more because he ain't playing. But I believe they're going to get bullied by Giannis and Bobby Portis and even Brook Lopez, who's playing pretty motherfucking good basketball of late. You touched on that, Jim. Now they've had their way with these boys. They bullied these boys. 8 of the last 9 meetings, they've won straight up. 8 of the last 9 meetings, 5-1 ATS last 6 meetings, and 5-1 straight up last 6 in Philly. They eat good in Philly. I simply believe, the Sixers are soft, and the Sixers are 4-4 at the house this year. They don't even really protect home court, and they're 5-5 as a favorite this year. Give me the Milwaukee Bucks plus 105. I got that minus 105. Fear the motherfucking deer early and often, but I'll take the full game.
Yeah, I get it. So that when we question a team's heart, then we don't expect them to fight back after that opening night loss. Milwaukee came and gave the Sixers.
I mean, that could be something, but I just don't trust the Sixers. I just don't. I could see the Sixers coming out and playing a little bit better basketball, and I know people are going to like the Sixers here in this situation, but give me the best player on the basketball court and a stronger basketball team. And I do believe Drew Holiday will be back tonight. I do believe that. Grayson Allen will be probable. Wesley Matthews is out, but I'm capping this game based on Drew Holiday playing tonight. So do I think they win this basketball game without Drew? I do. But I believe he will play, and I don't believe this plus 1.5 will be there by a little later in the day.
You got it. Bucks plus 108 available at 5 dimes right now. 5 dimes right now. Ski Profit saying take Halliburton over 10.5 assists today and off on his day. Thank you for sharing that with us. Ski Bucks plus 108 for Dutch Boy.
That's the best line out there because I got plus 1.5. That's not out there no more.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought you wanted money line. My bad.
No. Philly might fuck around and do some dumb shit. I think they win the basketball game, but I got +1.5 at -105, which I believe is a better basketball team.
Okay,
So that's what I bet last night. But you give me the bet. You give me the best thing we got going, bro.
I can give you +1.5 at -108.
Let's rock it.
All right, you are in business. Let's keep it rolling. Next up for us, 8 p.m. Eastern, Orlando Magic at Chicago Bulls. Magic 4-11, 0-6 on the road. Just like the defending NBA champions winless on the road. Chicago Bulls 6-9, 4-4 at home. United Center in Chicago, Illinois. Orlando 2-3 over the past 5, playing at a pace of 97.4 possessions a game, while Chicago 1-4, playing at a pace of 100 possessions a game. Move over to the line history in this one. Sorry, here we go. We have Orlando opening up as 9-point dogs, now 8.5-point dogs. This total opened up at 223.5 and is now at 221. Take a look at the cash flow in this one. 49% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on the Magic. And then 56% of the tickets, 68% of cash on the under. So the market has moved a half point in the Magic's direction, and it's moved towards the under. So the market and cash correlating here. Bulls coming off their third straight loss, 124-110 at New Orleans on Wednesday. DeRozan 11 of 15 for 28 points. But they are so bad defensively. They can't defend the perimeter at all. Pelicans go 17 of 33 from 3. The opponents are hitting 38.3% from 3 against this team. They've given up 250 combined over their past 2 games. They've allowed 121.7 points per game over their 3-game losing streak. Magic coming off their second straight loss, 126-108 at home versus Timberwolves on Wednesday. The Magic are so bad from 3 that they can't take advantage of the Bulls' weakness. So it's they went 9 of 35 from 3 in that game on Wednesday night against the Timberwolves. And no Banchero, 5 straight games. Wendell Carter Jr. is probable, which is good. It's good to have him back. It's important to have him back. Cole Anthony, of course, hasn't played since October 26th. No timetable, and Isaac and Fultz haven't played all season. Take it away for us here, Dutch Magic Bulls.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my guy, Stimmy OG. I see you. Gas report. Oh, man, this game, I don't really got too much on this game. If you want to bet this game, I would probably look Big Vooch, going against his old team, double-double, maybe points and rebounds. He should be a little amped up. This should be a good get-right spot for Chicago. Orlando, with this many points, you would think would have to be the look, but no action on this game, but I definitely could see Big Vooch doing some things against his old basketball team.
Yeah, the Bulls have looked so bad lately. I wonder if the ass kicking the Timberwolves gave the Magic. I mean, there's no possible way I could take the Bulls at this with this many points. But I see why the Magic probably can't take advantage of the weakness of the Bulls. Okay, let's move on. Next up, 8 p.m. Eastern, Indiana Pacers 7-6, 3-3 on the road at Houston Rockets, 3-12, 1-3 at home at Toilet Center, Houston, Texas. Pacers 4-1 over their past 5, 103.9 possessions a game. And we already heard from Ski on Tyrese Halliburton over assists. Houston 2-3 over their past 5, 99.80 possessions a game. We'll go over to the line history in this one. We have these Pacers opening up at -4.5. They're now -5.5. Point move towards them. This total's gone from 236 to 237.5, but it was up to 238. We take a look at the cash flow in this one. We have 3,972 tickets in, 69% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on the Pacers, market moving towards them. Then we have 46% of tickets, but 95% of cash on the over. And the market took, made a move up 2 points, but then brought it back a half point. Spenny Pennybomb says, who's stopping Turner down low? Pacers coming off their second straight win, 125-113 at Charlotte on Wednesday night. They won 6 of 8. This team has just weapons now. And they like playing with each other. And look at 4 guys that scored 19 or more in that win over Charlotte. Rockets come in after snapping their 3-game losing streak in a 101-92 victory over a Mavs squad missing Luka. KPJ goes for 17, 11, and 8 with 3 blocks. 19 blocked shots the Rockets had in that game against a Mavs squad missing Luka. Sammy seeing sharp money on Houston, and I just see a market moving towards Indiana. I mean, 29%, 30% of the cash. I don't know, maybe a little, I guess. Let's take it away. Let's hear what Dutch has to say. Pacers, Rockets.
Yeah, man. Guess, man. I rocked the Broncos hat on Wednesday, man. You got to pay the fuck attention, bro. Pay the fuck attention. This game, we got 11 games, Jim, and I can't go on every single one, so I have nothing for you. I do need to be watching a little bit more of Indiana basketball. I watched a couple games of them. I need to pay more attention. I had a bad read on them earlier. I thought they were just going to try to lose basketball games. They have talent. Halliburton's better than. I know Ski and our boy Wham Bam been real big on Halliburton since last year, and he's nice, man. So I would tell Ski on that. Indiana Pacers are a better basketball team than the Houston Rockets. So I don't have a good read on Houston either. So I don't like this basketball game, but there's no way I'm betting the Rockets here.
Yeah, Pacers just covered a big spread on the road. Are they going to do it again at Houston? You don't get rich off of big road favorites in the NBA, but this one may be feasible. Let's move on to 8 p.m. Eastern. Oklahoma City Thunder 7-8, 3-5 on the road. Memphis Grizzlies 9-6, 5-1 at home. We're at FedEx Forum. Memphis, Tennessee. Oklahoma City 3-2 over their past 5, playing at a pace of 104.35 possessions a game, while Memphis 2-3, playing at a pace of 97.47 possessions a game. Memphis opening -6.5. That's where they are now. It did drop to 6, but it's back to 6.5. From a total side of things, opened up at 232.5, has dropped to 230. Take a look at the cash in this one. We have 4,678 tickets in. 56% of the tickets, 90% of the early cash is on Oklahoma City. But the market not moving off of that. They moved for a second and then they came back. Public. I guess it's not that public of a dog. Well, it's sort of 56% of the tickets. Then we have 62% of the tickets, 81% of cash on the over, and the market is dropped at 2.5 points. But and this is important. This did get up to 234. So it was at 234 at 8 in the morning. It's dropped 4 points since then. So that's interesting. Thunder coming off their third win in 4 games, 121-120 at Washington on Wednesday. They're playing at a fast pace, 104.35 possessions a game. Memphis playing at a slow pace, 97.47 points per game. And this game is about 2 players. It's about who's there in Shea and who's not there in Desmond Bane for Memphis. Shea goes for 42 in that 121-120 victory. I mean, he's putting up MVP type numbers. If he can get this team in the playoffs, he's MVP. 31.5 points, 47.8% shooting. That's what he's averaging this year. Darius Baisley missed the last 4 games, sprained ankle. Trey Mann this last 2 games with back soreness. They're both day-to-day. Grizzlies coming off their second straight loss, 113-102 at the Pelicans on Tuesday. And they just don't look good without Desmond out there. They did have Jaren Jackson back, made a season debut on Tuesday after missing the first 14 games. He didn't look good, but he'll start looking good at some point soon. Morant goes for 36 in that loss. Grizzlies 9 of 35 from 3 now without Desmond Bane hitting those bombs. Take it away for us, Dutch. Thunder, Grizzlies.
Yeah, this game, man, this game's interesting to me because I feel like it's like, how the fuck are we getting 6.5 with the Thunder here? It just seems like too many points here. Jaren Jackson, yeah, you touched on him. He went 0-7 from 3 last game out. Obviously he'll get his legs back, and I like this kid a lot. Did have, I believe, 4 or 5 blocks, so he is definitely playing hard, contributing on the defensive end. But yeah, you might want to stop shooting all them threes, bro. Go inside a little bit. But this game, there's a big card today, so I did not bet this basketball game. But I just look at it and I'm like, man, how do you not like the OKC here? It did drop a little bit down to 6 and it's back up to 6.5, but I believe this is pretty public because I don't know anyone who's on Memphis right now laying the 6.5 on Memphis. But I look into it. The Thunder are 1-4 ATS last 5 meetings in Memphis and 3-8 overall last 11 against us. 3-8 ATS last 11 meetings overall versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Now I know there's no Bane, and I know the Thunder are playing better basketball. And I know Shea's been playing out of his fucking mind, but I believe Josh should be able to do whatever he wants. I know Dort's out there, but I think Josh is on another level right now. The home crowd in Grind City. This game's tough to me, man. It really is. I feel like OKC, all they do is cover basketball games. So how are we getting 6.5 here? I believe it's just a little bit too much public of a dog for me. It was tricky with the Blazers yesterday with the -2, 2.5 goes down to 2 with all the money and everything on the Blazers. And then obviously they lose that basketball game. I'm going to stay off this one, Jim, but I could only look OKC plus the 6 in the hooker.
I hear that. And last night's game, you show no fear going up against the market, and your ROI is positive. Sometimes it's going to hurt you. But look what you did last Friday going up against the sharp action. You destroyed it. Right. So keep doing exactly what you're doing. Sometimes you're going to get hurt, but your ROI is hugely positive. So, I wouldn't take too much into it. Thank God for Royce O'Neal, because I just the way I've been running an NBA, I was like, oh, this game's going to go overtime. I'm going to lose my under. I knew it. I was so defeatist. I was like, I know this game's going to go overtime. I know it's going to lose. I'm going to lose my fight. I was such a shitty person to be around last night. Right. And then Royce O'Neal jumps up with 0.7 seconds left, and I fucking everything changes. Pop a bottle. Thunder, Grizzlies. This is their in basketball on every level. You want to fade a team that's coming in feeling really good about themselves. The Grizzlies do not feel good about themselves. They're an angry group. It's exactly why you're on the Cavs first quarter and first half, and it's why the market's not moving against this public dog. So I can completely understand why you're staying off, because who wants to back the Grizzlies at -6.5 with the way they're playing? So I totally get your breakdown. Let's move on. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Denver Nuggets 9-5, 5-4 on the road. Dallas Mavericks 8-6, 7-2 at home. American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. Denver 3-2 over their past 500.1 possessions a game. Dallas 2-3 playing at 96.8 possessions a game, which is faster than they had been playing. Dallas opening up at -7. They're out now -9. Total opening up at 217. Now 215.5. When we go over to the cash flow, just 2,521 tickets in, 59% of tickets, 67% of cash on the Mavs. Market moving towards them. And then you have 50-50 on the total, but 57% of cash on the under. So 50-50 on the total. Bigger bets coming in on the under, and it's dropped 1.5. So Friday's game is the first of two they'll play in Dallas. This is great for us gamblers, getting two spots in the same barn. The problem is this fucking COVID's health and safety issues that are messing with the everything. But Nuggets coming off their second loss in 3 games, 106-103 at home to the Knicks without both Jokic and Aaron Gordon. Gordon, not a non-COVID illness. Jokic, health and safety. Jokic out again, obviously. You can tell by the line. And Aaron Gordon questionable. MPJ did not step up when they needed him. He follows up the 31-point performance by going 1 of 8 for 28 minutes. He not very consistent, but a hell of a basketball player. Who is becoming consistent? Jamal Murray, starting to find his legs, starting to play some good ball. 21 points. He's averaging 18.9 a game in November. Bones Highland returned from his missing 3 games with health and safety protocols. Mavs coming off their having their 2-game winning streak snap, 101-92 loss at home, and it was the second half of a home back-to-back, and they rested Luka. So lots of excuses and explanations for the no-show. Take it away for us, Dutch. Nuggets, Mavericks.
Yeah, man. Luka the motherfucking Don's back in the lineup. We're going right back to the window on the first quarter, -2.5 here. I like this looking awful lot. We've been cashing on the Dallas Mavericks. We did not cash against Houston here without Luka. We get Luka for the whole quarter. The stats are obviously increasing. How well Dallas plays first quarter, first half, and then decreases in the third and fourth quarter shooting. It starts with their superstar, but it trickles down to their whole team. They tire down and play suspect basketball in the second half, but that first quarter they are playing elite basketball when they are fresh, and Luka the Don is fresh. I just simply believe Jamal Murray's not playing tonight. You're right. He's getting his legs, but good to see because I'm a big fan of Jamal Murray, but he's out as well tonight. These Denver Nuggets are depleted. Dallas off a loss at home to a Texas rival in Houston. They've been at home. They've been chilling. They got their boy back. First quarter -2.5 is good money. They're 5-2 ATS last 7 first quarters overall. 2-0 ATS last 2 meetings versus the Nuggets. Obviously, the Nuggets got their big boy out. They got Murray out. They might not have Gordon. They were suspects at fuck his in that fourth quarter against the New York Knicks at home. Bones Highland drops 21. Everything was possible, pretty much done, and they still find a way to lose the basketball game at home to a suspect New York basketball team. Now you go into Dallas, a team that obviously is not happy after losing. I know Luka wasn't out there, so it was expected, but still, they lose at home to a Houston team. I believe they'll be ready to rock and roll and get right back to cashing first quarters for us.
The market moving very quickly towards your move here. There's no 2.5. The 2.5 is available at minus 125. The 3 is available at 5 times minus 105.
Let's rock and roll.
Mavericks first quarter minus 3 at minus 105. TJ saying, asking you a question, Dutch, would there be any scoring props to look at with Jokic out and Gordon questionable and Jamal Murray out?
Yeah, I like Bruce Brown, man. I like Bruce Brown. He's been doing his thing. He played a lot better. He does a little bit of everything. So points and rebounds with Bruce Brown. I would look his way. And then, Jim touched on Michael Porter Jr. I mean, the kid's nice. He's just too streaky, but maybe a 3-point prop with him, he's definitely gonna be chucking them.
I love it. All right, let's move on. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I meant to already have bet this. Let's see what's going on here. Celtics 12-3, 6-2 on the road. New Orleans Pelicans 9-6, 5-2 at home. We're at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. I understand that betting against Boston is not a smart thing to do. Generally, they're playing at a very high level. Boston opening up at minus 2.5 and minus 105. It hasn't moved. The total opened up at 228, is now at 230, so it's gone up. I've tried to go under a couple of Celtics games and have just lost immediately. 3,972 tickets in, 32% of the tickets, 90% of the cash on the Pelicans. Then you have 81% of tickets, 97% of cash on the over. That's a lot of money on the over, and it's gone up 2 points. Wow. Celtics 5-0 over the past 5. I mean, they won 8 straight, but I do last 5 for pace breakdowns. 101.6 possessions a game. Pelicans 4-1, playing at a pace 99.1 possessions a game. Celtics coming off their 8 straight win, 126-101 at Atlanta on Wednesday. They played without Brogdon. They played without Marcus Smart. It didn't matter. Jaylen Brown goes for 22. 7 Celtics score at least 14. Derek White goes for 16 and 10. Pelicans coming off their 3rd straight win, 124-110 at home versus the Bulls on Wednesday. And, no Zion, who's day-to-day, missed 2 straight games with a bruised foot. But depth, they showed they have depth. CJ is playing much better. Valanciunas goes for 22. 6 players in double figures. The Pelicans go 17 of 33 from 3. They had made 18 threes on 38 in that win against Memphis, so they're just hitting well. Trey Murphy, 5 of 6 from 3. Brandon Ingram doing everything you need out of a best player, whatever is necessary. 9 assists. Pelicans had 30 assists on 43 field goals. And this is my favorite spot in NBA and NHL. And it's this exact spot. It's the 5th game of a 6-game homestand is my favorite spot if you're not dealing with too big of a favorite. I just feel like this game means a ton to the Pelicans, and I don't know how much if it means anything to the Celtics. Take it away, Dutch. I know you keep cashing on the Celtics, and I'm not in, so I could be talked off of it. Take it away, Celtics Pelicans.
Yeah, man. I'm on the other side here. Not official yet because I have been waiting on Marcus Smart. Mr. Brogdon will play, but I need Marcus Smart out there. He didn't go through shoot around. From what I read yesterday, I thought he was going to be ready to rock and roll. They both would play, and then he missed shoot around this morning. So I'm waiting on Marcus Smart. I need him out there. In a game like this, I want Marcus Smart. But there's no way I'm betting the Pelicanos here in this spot, Jim. I understand what you said, and it does sound, pretty sharp. But at the same time, the Celtics, man, they're a fucking really good basketball team. They got the best thing going, the best duo going. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, JB and JT, man, these motherfuckers is nice. They're elite, shooting the 3 as well. Very elite here, and Pelicanos don't do that as well. They tend to struggle from that perimeter. That could be a big issue here. But the Boston Celtics, man, they're a bet-on basketball team. 11-3 straight up this year as a favorite. 4-1 ATS last 5 overall. Won 8 straight basketball games. They are 6-2 ATS last 8 on the road. And 5-1 straight up last 6 versus the Southwest Division. Pelicanos, to me, they have a lot of talent. They are a deep basketball team. I still don't think they have an actual point guard. I don't believe CJ McCollum's a point guard. He's a 2 guard. And they are suspect at home. The Pelicanos this year at home have lost to Utah Jazz, Golden State, and the Portland Trail Blazers without Nurkic, Damian Lillard, and I believe Simon was the only one who played out there. I have to look back on that. But no Dame, no Nurkic. They were missing 2 to 3 starters and went into the Pelicanos, I believe, as a 9-point dog and won outright against the Pelicanos in New Orleans. So they have shown that they do not protect that house And Golden State is not the same team. So for Golden State to go in there and beat them, I don't know about that. So I look at the Pelicanos. They're 1-6 ATS last 7 at home versus a team with a winning percentage greater than 60%. So the Pelicanos, I think they're a solid basketball team, but I do believe there's levels to it. And I think the Boston Celtics are on another level. You give me Marcus Smart, I'll be all over the Boston Celtics -2, 2.5. Even if it gets up to 3, I don't think it'll move too much with Smart in or out. But I believe Smart is a big key. That didn't matter against Atlanta, but Atlanta seems to be pretty fucking fugazi as well. So I need Marcus Smart in there, but I cannot see the Pelicanos here. But I get where you're coming from, Jim. There's some sharp guys I know. Sharkwater Nation is on the Pelicanos +3 here. So you're in good company if you do back Pelicanos, but not my money, sir.
I'm going to double here. I'm going to take not only the Pelicans, but I'm going to take the team total over, getting a 112.5. It's my favorite spot in one of my favorite angles in all of sports betting is the NBA and NHL. And I just got to keep doing it every opportunity I get. Also here we have a situation where the public is all over the Celtics. I know we're only talking about 4,000 tickets, but 70% of the tickets, and with no money, huge bets coming in with the Pelicans. 87% of the cash on the Pelicans. I'm willing to my money down on this spot.
I guess I didn't do a good enough job in my breakdown. I understand. I didn't even bet it yet, so I get you. Sweaty Butcher, prime cut, Celtics -3. Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, it's a dangerous spot that I'll be watching very closely tonight. Teacher says, what's the psychology behind that? Well, my ROI, it's outrageous in the 5th game of a 6-game homestand in NHL and NBA. It's just huge. My thought process behind it is just that there's comfort. You have real comfort. You're not thinking about anything but that game. In the 6th game of a 6-game homestand, you're about to go on the road. It's all kind of coming to an end, but you have just an enormous amount of comfort in where you're, practicing your every day, your whole plan of how you attack every day is set in the 5th game of a 6-game homestand. You're just, this is the reason why you track your action, right? You always have to track your action. What are the angles that are most profitable for you? This is most profitable for me. So we'll move on. And if Smart is in, I don't think that he's going to be in because
I might just stay up. I have a lot of bets today already, Jim. So I do have the Wizards as well, which obviously we're not going to make official. So and you seem pretty confident here. There's no reason for me to really back the Celtics if Smart's not in. He missed the shoot around, so now I'm having hesitation as well that he will be playing tonight.
And Sweaty Butcher says Celtics hottest team in the league. Celtics are the best team in the league right now. I get it.
It's just one basketball game,
Yeah, it's just one game in New Orleans that, and the Celtics coming off that blowout in Atlanta, feeling good about themselves.
Without Smart, without Brogdon, they put it on them. So I see it, man. I see it. There's a reason why there's sharp money on the Pelicans, and there's a reason why you like them in the spot. So I'll probably stay off this.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And last Friday, you took the Celtics in the spot where the sharp money was.
Everyone loved Denver. Yeah. Everyone.
And there was just it was a no contest. There was no sweat.
We're at home though. That was a little different. Now it's in New Orleans, but I do think New Orleans is suspect at the house. But that was a beautiful thing. I seen a lot of sharp money, a lot of people liking the Nuggets last week. I didn't see it, and it was not a sweater. Easy money.
Easy money, no doubt. 9 p.m. Eastern. Next up for us, Phoenix Suns 9-5, 2-4 on the road. Utah Jazz 10-6, 5-1 at home. We're at Vivint Arena, Salt Lake City, Utah. Both teams 2-3 over their past 5. Utah playing at a pace 5 possessions faster per 60 minutes. 102 to 97.40. Let's take a look at the line history in this one. We have the Jazz opening up as 1.5-point dogs, now 2-point dogs. This total opened up at 227. It's now at 228.5. We take a look at the line history. 2,887 tickets in. 31% of the tickets, 36% of the cash on the Jazz. And then you have 44% of the tickets, 63% of cash on the under. And the total's gone up 1.5. So that's confusing. Suns snapped their 2-game losing streak of a 130-119 win at home over the Warriors on Wednesday. Book goes for 27. Cameron Payne goes for 29. All starters in double figures. This team, look, they're just rolling. Bridges goes 23-9-9. Seeing like I messed up. I doubled up. I try to catch a falling knife. I just keep doing that. And Curry did everything he possibly could. Everything he possibly could for me. And it's just not enough. They go 21-40 from 3. The Suns are just now, that game meant a ton to them, right? They had all the emotional back and forth, with Book and Clay, and that game meant so much to them. And now here, does this game going to altitude to play the Jazz? Jazz coming off their third straight loss, 118-111 home versus the Knicks. So Utah's rested, but starting today, and keep an eye out for this, 8 games in 13 days for the Jazz. 8 games in 13 days. There's going to be times where you're going to be able to attack this Utah team throughout this little stretch. Take it away for us, Dutch Suns Jazz.
Yeah, man. Shout out to our guy Bobano. He be telling about the Utah. They're bound to come back to reality. And God damn it, I think they came back to reality. And this is simple, man. It's levels to this shit. And you could say, are they Suns up for this game? I think they could bring their B game and still beat the Utah Jazz at this time. The Suns are a really good basketball team. They're very well coached. So I would expect them to be ready to play tonight. Not to mention they have a general on the court. They really have 2 coaches, 2 head coaches, obviously with CP3 out there running the show. When he is playing the Suns, but obviously from the bench side, he's still gonna make sure motherfuckers hold people accountable. But best believe that. That's just what CP3 will do. He's one of the best leaders we've seen out here. The Suns are won 7 of the last 8 meetings versus these boys. 6-1 ATS last 7 versus a team with a winning record. So they play up to competition. As Utah has played very solid basketball, but like I mentioned, I believe they're coming back to reality. 4-0 ATS last 4 in Utah, so they do play good in that altitude. 7-2 ATS last 9 meetings overall. And the Jazz, like I touched on, they've came back and have been somewhat of a team that we could fade now. 4-1 ATS last 5 on 2 days rest. Lost 3 straight here. Utah has guys that can play. I know Sexton. I like Sexton a lot. I know they got Jordan Clarkson, who's streaky as a motherfucker. Markin can play basketball as well, but I just think the team, a full team basketball, there's levels to it. Phoenix Suns will go in there and put it on Utah in 4 quarters of basketball. Give me -1.5.
Wow. I get it. -1.5. Let's lock you in on this right now. It's the Jazz are 5-1 at home. I mean, we talk about the Jazz coming, the Knicks came in and beat them, but I can't back the Suns here in what I think's got to be a letdown spot. But -1.5, let's get that for you. It's moved to 2.5 at 5 dimes. -1.5. I know we can get you a nice price here at Pinnacle. Let's move over there. The -1.5 is -110.
Yeah, look who they beat at the house, though. I guess they beat Memphis in back-to-back games at the house, which is impressive. But outside of that, I guess we could say Denver. Denver started off slow opening night. Utah beat them. But other than that, they're beating Lakers and they're beating the Rockets. So this is a little bit different level.
No doubt. Fascinating game. And I get it. And Spenny thinking that it's a good price as well. All right.
This and the Bucks are very tricky games, but I got to go with what I cap and what I see and what I believe.
I would be on the Jazz if you didn't give that breakdown. So I'll stay off. But what is the situation here right now again with the cash flow? So 69% of the ticket, 64% of cash. All right. Let's move on. Next up, we have 2 West Coast games to close out our show. 10 p.m. Eastern, New York Knicks 8-7, 4-4 on the road at the Golden State Warriors 6-9, 6-1 at home at the Chase Center, San Francisco, California. Knicks 3-2 over the past 5, 101 possessions a game. Warriors 3-2 over the past 5, 102.7 possessions a game. Let's go to the line history here. We have the Warriors opening up at -7 at Pinnacle. They're now -7.5 From a totals perspective, it goes from 233 to 234.5. When we take a look at the cash, 5,863 tickets in, 69% of tickets, 87% of cash on the Warriors. Market moving towards them. That's clear. 58% of tickets, 92% of cash on the over, and it's gone up 1.5 points. I think everything is pretty clear. Everything correlates. Knicks coming off their second straight win, 106-103 at Denver on Wednesday night. Randall goes for 34. Still expected no Mitchell Robinson. So Randall and Obi Toppin front court with 3 guards. RJ Barrett is not getting out of his slump. It's bad. It's really bad. 0 for 9 from 3 in Denver. He is 8 for 34, or the team was with his 0 for 9. 31.1% is what the Knicks shoot from 3 on the road right now. RJ has missed his last 17 3-pointers. RJ Barrett.
How the fuck did they win in Denver the other night? I'm still salty about that.
Warriors coming off their second loss in 3 games, 131-19 at Phoenix on Wednesday, 0-8 on the road. Steph goes for 50. Steph does everything. P. Jenkins in the house. What up? And it's not enough. It's just this this Warriors squad is just hurting me. And I'm not even a fan or anything. There's a couple times where I thought, oh, this is the spot. And I get taken to the fucking woodshed. Take it away for us, Dutch. Knicks Warriors.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty salty about these New York Knicks. I ain't gonna lie. I won my first 3 bets with these boys first half at the house, and I've lost 4 straight, either backing them or fading them. Counting the other night there in Denver. These Knicks, man, they can't. You touched on the shooting, man. You look out there. I mean, they got Cam Reddish. Really, that's it. Brunson ain't even really a 3-point shooter. I mean, I guess you think he's not that bad, but they have no shooting. Fournier's nowhere to be found. They literally, you touched on Barrett. Julius Randle's fucking 3 happy. I mean, these boys should get ran out the fucking gym. But I can't bet this basketball game simply because whatever I touch with New York, I'm going to lose money. So I'm going to stay the fuck away. But if I bet this basketball game, if I had to bet this basketball game, it would be the New York Knicks early. This is just, it's just what it is. The Knicks come out early first quarter, first half, and we'll play competitive basketball. And the Warriors in the third quarter will fucking probably step it up and blow these boys out eventually. I believe it's about a time for a Klay Thompson game. I'm gonna say it now. Klay Thompson gonna have a game tonight. The Knicks are suspect in every aspect. He should be able to get comfortable out there and have a decent basketball game. He's been getting run through the fucking coals. I believe he has more shot attempts than points. I believe is a stat from Klay. So let's fucking have a game tonight, Klay, against these fugazi fucking Knicks. I don't believe it. So obviously the number's quite high with what we've seen from Golden State. But I would look to just simply get a better number with Golden State throughout the game.
Yeah, this I guess
anything with Steph on it, not to cut you off, Jim, my bad, but anything with Steph on it is, I mean, money, right? He's all they got. You touched on it, so he's doing everything.
What do you think of this over? They're both playing at a fast enough speed. The concern is the
shooting. I just don't trust the Knicks shooting. I don't. They're suspect as fuck. And I mean, Golden State got to start bringing it eventually. So, and this is a good team to keep under 100 and have a feel-good basketball game. This should be it right here. Utah or the Knicks are fucking feeling pretty fat and happy after already 2 games they should have lost. They go in as a dog, 4-point dog in Utah, win. Now they go into Denver and win as a 3-point dog. These are 2 tough places to play basketball. Obviously, no Joker. It was a pretty good situation for the Knicks there, but we got 2 altitude, 2 very tough places to travel, and now they're going to the Bay and against a team, the Warriors, who need to fucking win a basketball game, man. I mean, they just got punked the other day, so let's see what they can do. I would look, like I said, I would just look for a better number here with Golden State.
What do you think of Warriors first half team total over?
I don't know. They seem to start off kind of slow, but they do seem to start off kind of slow.
All right, that is.
I don't really like anything with the Warriors first half of that. Like, I just don't.
I feel you, Kiwi. One thing that I will, openly talk about here is, I think that I know RJ Barrett's being so bad, but I think it's late to the party, early to the funeral now. It's been 4 games. He's 0 for 17. What is he just never going to hit threes again? Once one goes through, he could score a couple. I wouldn't. It's when this type of thing happens with a player, it's happened. I wouldn't jump on it in the 5th game expecting the exact same scenario personally, especially with the. But he's in his head, no doubt about it. Let's move on to the final game on the board. 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Detroit Pistons 3-12, 0-7 on the road at LA Lakers 3-10, 3-5 at home. We are at crypto.com. Detroit 0-5 over their past 5, 99.4 possessions a game. Lakers 1-4, 100.3 possessions a game. Pistons on the second half of back-to-back after the 96-91 loss at the Clippers last night. Bogdanovich 26, Ivy 18, and then nothing. And I mean nothing. You're getting nothing from anybody else. Isaiah Stewart out for 3 weeks, sprained right big toe. Sadiq Bey back in the starting lineup. I don't know if his feelings are hurt or what the fuck's going on with him. Lakers come in off snapping their 5-game losing streak, 116-103 at home versus Nets on Sunday. LeBron, groin injury. Anthony Davis, bothered with the lower back injury. Davis went for 37 and 18 against the Nets. So is he feeling better? Lonnie Walker has been the only person on the Lakers that you can have faith in this year. I mean, that's what it's come to. Lonnie Walker and nobody else all of a sudden. And if Pelicans get the first overall draft, I mean, how is Pelinka still there? I mean, I'm surprised nobody's ski masked this guy. I'm just in the public. Seriously, I'm surprised no one's run out, fucked him up.
Yeah.
What he's done is an atrocity.
Right.
Take it away for us here, Pistons, Lakers.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, everyone really knows it's LBJ making the motherfucking calls, bro. It's crazy here. Lakers -7. Lakers really motherfucking favored by a touchdown against any basketball team, anybody. I don't give a fuck who's on the back of the jersey. I can't do that. That's. I had to double look, triple look at that motherfucker. I said the Lakers -7, and then obviously it's the Detroit Pistons. Detroit basketball. Well, Detroit basketball is ass. I'll just tell you that they're not playing well. They're the head of the snake, Cunningham. I kind of like the boy. He's obviously out. They really have nothing going. Then you look at the Lakers. They got shit going. They do have Anthony Davis back. They got Schroeder coming back with Thomas Bryant. They're getting healthy. These bums that they brought in are getting healthy. Maybe they could expect play a little bit basketball. If it's any time to have a feel good spot, Patrick Beverly act like they fucking won something important would be tonight. It would be tonight. But there ain't no way in hell I'm laying 7 with these fugazi ass Lakers. No, thank you. I would look maybe for Anthony Davis prop. Maybe even a Russ prop. He's been playing better basketball, so Russ should have his way. Get these boys involved. But I don't know why Russ isn't starting. How is Patrick Beverly starting over Russell Westbrook? I mean, if LeBron James ain't out there, we could see triple-double Russ if he was in the starting lineup. So I don't know what the fuck Darvin Ham's doing. I don't like Darvin Ham whatsoever. This was a suspect hire to begin with. Everything the Lakers do is fucking suspect. I'll just say that. And laying 7, and you're going to go to the window laying 7, that's suspect as fuck as well.
Yeah, it is. It is, man. 56% of the tickets are on the Lakers, but just 16% of the cash. But market's not moving towards the Pistons. This is just, this is a car fire. That's what this is.
I'm like, this is a straight backwood, Jim. I gave you a little bit just for you, my guy.
I loved it. The breakdown was funny. It's a car fire. This is stay away. This isn't HIV. This is fully blown AIDS. Let's move and take a look at the entire card here from our Dutch boy, Fresh. And I'm going to need a little bit more time to figure this out. Look at that. Just staring at me in the fucking face. Wiz -1.5, -105. I did not bet it, and I will delete it. Dutch gets his card started with the Cavs first quarter -3, first half -5.5. I had a rule about first quarters that I didn't go over -2.5, and the one I've only done it once this year, and it lost when I broke the rule. But I'm very close to breaking it here. I like those two looks. Dutch is on the Bucks +1.5. I'm interested in starting my card with the Orlando Magic. I'm interested in that. Pacers, Rockets, we have stayed off. Thunder, Grizzlies, we've stayed off. Dutch is on the Mavericks first quarter -3 at -105. I'm going to be on the Pelicans and the team total over 112.5. It's really juiced. I'm going to look at some alternate lines. I guess I probably can't take it. Right now, it's as if they don't want us to bet the team totals in that game at Bet365. And sometimes they do this just to keep gamblers off of the totals. But look at this. They have the team totals right now are The Celtics is at 114.5. It's minus 140 to the over. The Pelicans 112.5, minus 135 to the over. Shout out to our guy KD Kadesh. Thank you so much for becoming a member, man. It means a ton to us. KD, I love it. KD cashed with the Rockets money line in that Rockets Mavs spot. KD, a very strong capper, man.
Good shit. Nice
Next up for us, Dutch is on the Suns minus 1.5, which is taking me off the Jazz at this point. And God, I feel like the Pelicans and the Jazz, like if I was in Vegas tonight and I was like, you know what, let's just only bet these two home dogs. Let's put 500 or K on each of them, money line, and just, see if the first one goes, and then your live roll, I can just imagine. That would be a very fun evening for me. Knicks Warriors, we're staying off. Pistons Lakers, we're staying off. Dolo, what up, Dolo in the house? Lamont Williams, max betting Cleveland team total over 115. That's correlated with Dutch's action. Makes a lot of sense to me, Lamont. That's Lamont's max bet. I'm going to pop that here because I'm going to go review all this shit and make my bets. Dutch, I truly cherish these Fridays. I love that you work with me here. We get these huge cards, get you for so long, and the chat loves it, and we all love it here. So thank you for sharing your hard work and insights with us. Follow our guy, Dutch Boy Fresh, on Twitter, always putting out his action, and he is our star of NBA Pub Hub.
You got
Dutch,
my
man.
first quarter, right, Jim?
Say what, my man?
You got my Mavs first quarter?
Yes, Mavs first quarter -3. Yep, I got it all.
Okay, all right, bet.
No, but good thing asking about it for sure. Dutch, my man, any last words and any plans for the weekend? What's your you gonna be at any of these casinos playing poker? What's your weekend look like?
Yeah, man, we're gonna go grind tonight. Friday, Saturday night, probably be the last night we grind a little bit with the holiday coming around, slowing down a little bit out here. So yeah, Friday, Saturday nights are a night to hit the felt and hit him straight over the motherfucking head. But Fresh Friday, it's a beautiful thing. Vibing out with you, Jim. All the real ones in the chat. I appreciate all the love. Be sure to check me out Monday through Thursday on NBA Pub here, NBA Pub Hub right here on Pub Sports Radio at 4 p.m. Eastern time. But as always, Jim, breaking bread with you is a beautiful thing. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Y'all stay fresh.
There he is, Dutch Boy Fresh. Let's review all action here on this giant card. Bobano is on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He got him at -4. He made the official pick here at -5 to win the Grey Cup. I am going to wait in the weeds. I'm going to wait for this number to get higher and higher. And then I'm going to be on the Toronto Argonauts plus the points. And I might do a first half full gamer on it. And I might do a first half money line on it. I just think that the public's going to be hammering the Bombers. And sure, Caleros' ankle is okay right now. Spenny saying money line. I don't know if I could do the full game money line. If I did, it would just be a very little bit. I don't know if I could do that. But I don't even know if I want to watch the game. No, I do want to watch the game. In NHL, the Canucks, like all of a sudden everything changes for me. Like all of a sudden now I'm fucking angry. Just sucks that our management such fucking idiots. You have a guy like Trevor Linden has to leave the franchise because he looks around at these fucking imbeciles. The greatest Canuck of all time looks around at these fucking ass clowns ruining our franchise, and he has to resign. And it starts with Aquilini being a fucking ass clown and Benning, and he's gone. But it's just ass clown after fucking ass clown. Terrible decision after terrible decision. A fucking joke of a shit franchise. All we know is losing, Canucks fans. All we've ever done is fucking lost. We've never won a cup. We just lose. Every season ends with another fucking L. Fucking trash. You want to take my favorite sport away from me. That's what you're fucking doing. Fuck you. It's what a bunch of ass clowns. Just fucking ruining a whole sport for me is what they're fucking doing. Just all these small forwards. Look, like, do you have to be a small guy to understand that you need big hockey players out there to fucking instill their will on the opposition? What a easy team to play against. If it wasn't for Luke Shen, we'd have no toughness whatsoever. Just a pack of little fucking bitches. And JT Miller looks bad. He's the only guy out there playing with heart and soul. Horvat's fucking Rocket Richard in his contract year. What was he doing the last 6 years? Winning faceoffs? Fuck you, Bo. Fuck all you guys on the Canucks, except for JT Miller and Luke Shen. Bobano's on USF plus 14.5. I'm going to be moving on Tulsa full game. And then New Mexico first half full game. I really think that the Aztecs are going to struggle in a meaningless game for them. I know it means something to them, in the race for the division, but that's it. Other than that, it's freezing cold and it's seniors night, and why not? Why not now, Lobos? Then in NCAA basketball, I'm very close to moving on Temple. I'm not sure if I will. Bobano's on Indiana. I'm moving on Virginia. Bobano's on UCF plus 6.5. He's on Lipscomb plus 13.5 and the over 150.5. Bellarmine and the under. Bellarmine Clemson under. That's a Noli look on the under that I'm going to jump on. I was going to move on the under in Florida State, but Bobano liking the over. I'm fine getting off it. I have enough action. Bobano's on Illinois plus 3.5. We've stayed off of Villanova, Michigan State. And then we've already done the breakdown in NBA. And that is our show. The weekend is here. And God, last night could have been like a nice big cashing night, but end up 7-6 plus 1.1 units. It's not enough to make back what I lost on Wednesday. I'm just barely down on the week. But we had strung together winning weeks, and I want to get this shit back. I'm going to go get my action in now. And then I'm taking the kids down to Niagara Falls, taking them to a water park tomorrow. Hopefully I won't be filled with rage over the Kings beating the Canucks 6-0 tonight. And hopefully I can get some of this anger, this seething anger inside of me out somehow. Because goddamn do the Canucks make me so angry. So angry. You know what? I feel like I need to see Jose cry. I think that would be the only thing that I can have. And I know I've asked for it too many times. Jose, I don't even see him in the background. He might not be available to cry. But I think that'd be the only thing that could do it for me here.
I'm currently now feeling sick, so you're getting even sick, Jose, too.
Look at Rem. Most thinks I wear a shirt in the pool. Fuck off, Rem.
God damn, Rem.
What a dick. Low blow right now, man. Look, I have supple tits. I don't care. I rock them. Wear a shirt in the pool.
What an asshole, Rem. Oh my gosh. This might be the meanest thing Ren's ever said.
He knows I'm vulnerable right now. I'm emoting and I'm vulnerable, and he fucking gives me one.
Yeah, people like to kick you when you're down. That's what I've learned in the last couple of weeks.
Oh God, why am I so angry and emotional? You know what? I'm not ending on a leche. I need, and I told Jose, I was like, God, Jose, I'm gonna abuse this because it's so magical and I can't help it. But can you please cry for all the Vancouver Canuck fans that only know losing? That's all we know. That's the only thing we understand is losing, and that will make me feel better. Just before you start crying here, Gas Report, Bo Jackson, Sammy Culmer, Robert Franklin, Kiwi, Rem Most, D. Jenkins, Lee Davis, Kadesh, who's now a member, Chili Dog Dooley, Dolo, Oliver Page, Cheshire Cat, Harold Williams, Noli knows. Thank you, guys. It truly, truly means the world that I get this opportunity to cap with you guys every day. Tori Coker, D. Mills. Don't forget, we have a ton of big shows coming up today. We have Sharpie with his The Good, the Bad, and the Money with Billy Brisbane. We have NBA Pop Hub. We have college basketball net profits. And then we have our live stream for Bucks Sixers. But I need you to cry for me. Please close the show at your leisure, Jose. For all the Vancouver Canucks fans, this one's for you. This one's for you.
This is for you. I think back on a day, Jimmy, you'll have to help me out with the year 2010 when Vancouver was on fire and the Sedins were just in the dressing room. They just weeping, shedding tears. They couldn't do it. And then some fucking yahoos from who knows where started flipping cars and making our city a mess. We can't do that today. Today, we have Jonathan Quick and the Los Angeles Kings. And God damn it, if those motherfuckers can't fix their shit, I don't know what we're going to be able to do. I just don't know what we're going to be able to do, Jim. This is for the Sedines. This is for Margaret Thatcher Demko. This is for the greatest Canuck to ever live. Line. Who's the greatest Canuck to ever live? Line.
Igor Larionov.
This is for Igor Larionov. We need this dub. And I depart thee with this one tear for you, Vancouver. For you.